right now. We're going to get this thing cracking straight away. We are going to get this thing cracking. So we got Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. And you're probably wondering, what's up with the very inflammatory thumbnail? I mean, are we going to pretend that Sean Strickland isn't that, right? Like, think about this, right? Everything that Sean Strickland stands for, okay, is exactly that. He stands for simpleton, mindless type of behavior, right? He's a guy that just shoots off in the mouth, says things with pure confidence, with absolutely no backing behind it. Here's the thing, you guys. Here's the thing, you guys. This is Sean Strickland in a nutshell. Okay, meanwhile, you got Khamzat Chimaev, okay? We understand he has his flaws, as we all do, right? Considering the fact that, you know, for a Muslim, he's a little bit rough around the edges, sort of curses a lot, you know, says things that, you know, are just, you know, completely like make you think like, well, you know what, this is not something a conservative Muslim would say. But understand this, right? In comparison to Khabib and in comparison to, let's say, Team Eagle, Khamzat grew up parts of his life in Sweden, right? So he grew up in the Western world. Shout out to Hate Love, my man. Shout out to you. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get this thing cracking right now, okay? Let's get some people in here. And, man, I got to tell you, really awesome episode yesterday, right? And I'm going to address that in a second, right? Because, well, let me just say that I found out a few information on this person, and, you know, we're gonna get right down to it, right? We're not only gonna get right into Khamzat Chimaev and you know, and Sean Strickland. We're also gonna get right into well, you know, the ongoing beef that is. I mean, this isn't even a beef, honestly. You can't beef with somebody that doesn't have a platform, okay? And some of the things that I found out about this person, well, you know, it kind of explains everything, right? You know, there's a lot of clout chasing that is going on here. There's a lot of, you know, somebody that just started off their YouTube channel, you know, throwing a few shorts in there, trying to get attention. And also, another thing that I found out about this person, whose name should not be mentioned, okay, because I'm not going to give them, you know, any more clout. But if you were here yesterday when I did the Iran Attack California live stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, the last live stream before this one. So whatever live stream followed from this, watch it from before, because I'll tell you, it was absolutely explosive, right? Especially with what was going on in the chats and everything, and, you know, addressing this particular person. Well, anyways, I found that this person, you know, actually went out of their way to go get at a minor. Oh, yes. Get at a minor. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, attacking a minor verbally, right? And what did this particular minor have in common with me, per se, right? Well, it's not that the minor was Muslim. It's not that the minor was, you know, of a marginalized minority. In fact, I found out that this person who was trolling me yesterday is actually a minority, right? I thought this was like some, I don't know, some you know, white person that was disgruntled, that had, you know, some sort of like a vendetta against Muslims or something like that. That wasn't the case. What I found out was it was a person from a marginalized group. Well, let me just say this, right? It was a black person, right? Not that that matters or anything like that, but I was, you know, profoundly surprised. I thought that this would be a white person, you know, attacking me. Lo and behold, it's not. It's actually a person of a mixed race, right? Well, put it like this. Let me give you a clue. The same mixing of, let's say, Andrew Tate. The same mixing of, let's say, Stephen Curry, okay? We're going to get right to that in a second. Let me get to what I was going to say about Khamzat, right? So Khamzat obviously grew up in the West, okay? Grew up in the West, and Jair says, Kyrie Abu El-Kheer MMA, I wonder who you are cheering for. It's obvious. And let me tell you, I got into it with Sean Strickland online not too long ago. This was back in 2019. I always tell this story because, I feel like this particular fight is coming to fruition because of the things that I said to Sean Strickland, afterwards. So during a forest fire in Brazil in 2019, okay, I posted an article about it. A Saudi man donated fire equipment to the Brazilians, right, in 2019. Sean Strickland comes into my page. Not only did Sean Strickland come into my page, but on top of that, said something to the effect of, oh, you know what, Muhammad loves the trees, but not the women. So then, I told Sean Strickland, I was like, man, I can't wait for this one Chechnyan in Sweden to come and beat your ass, right? And lo and behold, that Chechnyan happens to be Khamzat Chimaev, right? I've been following Khamzat Chimaev online since the days of him fighting at Brave FC, right? I'm, Facebook friends with his brother. So, yeah, lo and behold, this matchup is not as a prospect fight as what I would expect it to be. It is now a championship fight. So, now, one thing that I do like about Khamzat Chimaev, right? The one thing that I really appreciate about Khamzat Chimaev, I told you he's a little bit different than that of, let's say, Khabib, right? He grew up in the Western world, right? Parts of his life. So he's a little bit rough around the edges, right? He has a little bit of a Western, European gangster street mentality about him, right? And then that's really what it comes down to. So, all right. Enough about Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. Let's address the elephant in the room real quick, okay? So this person that I was telling you about right here, okay? This is the person that, the subject matter at hand that we are talking about. So as I said, this is a person that comes from, a marginalized group. I thought this was a white person, okay? This is what I found interesting right here, right? So right here, cool guy, you're a hater, and this is what this, by the way, this person that she said this to is a minor. Okay, this is a minor that this person went after, right? Cool guy, 2026. Okay, this is what this person says right here. I'm sure your father is disappointed at you, kid. He wished he had a straight son, but decided to go little Nas X route. What a disappointment. Okay, so let's take a look at who this guy is. Right? Let's take a look at who this guy is. So look at this. This is the person that she's going after. Okay, this is clearly a young person. Okay, this is clearly a young person that they're going after right here. Okay, and okay, another thing that this person has in common with me, okay, has more subscribers than the previous person right here. This is how many subscribers this person has, 12. So do you see the common denominator here? The common denominator is that this person is literally trying to create clout for herself, right? Trying to create some sort of, trying to create some sort of, attraction, some sort of like, and look, I get it, right? I'm like up to, 1.4K right now, close to 1.4K. He says, you're a filthy liar. What am I exactly lying about? He says, yeah, plus energy. YouTube rules are ish. Okay, so ban me, timed out, whatever. He says, why are your mods scared of the truth banning people? Look, man, here's the thing, right? We don't have to listen to what you have to say. You understand? Obviously, we don't have to really give you any attention whatsoever. I don't have to read any of your messages. He says, let me come up on the stream and I'll show you a screenshot of the timeout. Haha. Yeah, look, whatever my moderators do, right? I told you guys, I don't necessarily always agree with what my moderators do, right? But the fact of the matter is, if that is what they want to do, okay, you have nothing, you have no right to do anything about it. That's really the God honest truth. You guys have an opportunity to go on YouTube, to make your own channel, to make your own videos, okay? And let's see how that works out. You don't have to come in here and, say anything, right? You are given a privilege. You understand this, right? You're given a privilege to talk here. I'm the one who built my own algorithm. I'm the one who built my own, status online. It is you. It is your choice whether you want to speak to me in a way that is, either appealing to me or something that I have. He says I have to come and defend the children. Okay, well, look. You talk about children. Take a look at this. This is what a person is saying. Look at this. This is what this person is saying to a minor. Okay, I need you to read this. This person right here, okay, that cool guy is a minor, and this is what this person is saying to a minor. It says, "I'm sure your father is disappointed at you, kid." Okay, so you're going around accusing a kid of being gay, and yet I don't understand, right? Like, this is a kid that you're talking to. You know what I mean? And look, again, like I said, I don't need to, honor your freedom of speech. I don't need to honor your freedom of speech, okay? Scared of what exactly? You know what I mean? This person wanted attention, so I gave it to them. It was my choice to give this person attention. So here's a couple of things we found out about this person, right? None of you are hearing anything that I'm saying, even when I'm dropping facts, right? I gave receipt after receipt. This person says, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not, an elite athlete. Okay, well, I showed you my, resting heart rate. That is a resting heart rate of an athlete. I showed you videos of my training. That is something that most human beings cannot do. I showed you the fact that this person lied about multiple things. First of all, this person said, here's a couple of things that this person said, okay? This person said that, what do you call it? This person said that, okay, I'm currently at work right now. And then backtracks and says, well, my parents own hotels from Oregon all the way to Washington. So which is it? Are you either from, a family that comes from, a rich family, okay, that owns hotels, or you're a person that was at work while you were doing this, and none of those things add up. See, none of you are hearing that. I don't have to, I don't have to address anything that you're saying right now. I don't have to give you, the free, he says, oh yeah, you live in America, but you don't honor freedom of speech. Listen, Matry views, right? Here's something you got to understand, right? Freedom of speech, okay, is involved with the government. It's not involved with people that are talking online. Okay, this is, now look, I don't mean to sound, I don't mean to sound like a D-I-C-K about this, but this is my platform, right? I hate when people say that. Oh, well, this is my platform. This is my show. I hate when people say that, so I hate that I have to say this. But I have the right to either give you, the honor of saying whatever it is that you want to say, or I have the right to ignore what you have to say, right? And by the way, I'm choosing to ignore a lot of the things that a lot of you are saying right now, because, yeah, that's really what it is. He says, yeah, that's what he's saying to a minor. Let him do whatever he wants. Okay, this is a person, again, I just showed you, facts right now that this person literally attacked a minor, okay? And none of you are hearing that. He says, Mr. Kyrie El-Kheer, I don't have to honor your freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, guys, listen to me, okay? Freedom of speech means that I can't stop you from going to town hall or whatever town meeting that you're at to say whatever it is that you want to say, or, whatever it is that you want to say at work, right? You know what I mean? Who attacked the minor MP? The person from yesterday that we talked about right here, okay? Remember this person? Okay? This person right here, this is a minor that she's attacking, right? And now, all the person said was, are you a hater? I don't know what context that is. Maybe these people know each other or not, but he says, I'm sure your father is so disappointed at you, kid. He wished he had a straight son, but decided to go the little X route. What a disappointment. This is a minor. This is a person that she's attacking right here, okay? This looked like a person that is of age. Obviously not, right? So this is quite obvious. This is quite obvious right here. So yes, that is who attacked the minor, was that person. I said much worse to Sprouts. I don't understand what you mean by that. Plus Energy says, haha, shut up, hate love. Being a mod on a shot channel doesn't make you important, doesn't make women like you doesn't make you not ugly, you're nothing. Okay, well, first of all, plus energy, you don't even know what that person looks like. Once again, this is what I mean, right? She does the same thing. But look, we're not going to waste too much energy on this, because obviously the particular topic of this one is, is about Khamzat and what do you call it, and Sean Strickland. Or we can make it about that. I mean, look, I don't have to be, really hard line about this. You can, talk about this as much as we want, and then, we can exhaust it. He says, you taking that much time and energy investigating haters. Come on, man. Yeah, but you know what? I'm showing you receipts. Let's be honest about this, okay? I'm showing you receipts, right? First of all, this person said, okay, well, I'm, at work right now while I'm, arguing with you, and then backtracks and says, well, my parents own hotels from Washington to Oregon. Now, which is it? Your parents either own hotels, or you're either at work arguing with somebody online, and on top of that, yeah, man. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Plus Energy says this is a shot channel, but why are you even in here? You're in here for a reason. You're in here because you're entertained by all of this. So it's not really a shot channel, is it? You don't have to like me, but you obviously respect the channel enough for you to come in here and give you your views. He says, dude, you are in America. This is an American company. YouTube is owned by an alphabet company. It is an all-American company, and you live in America, so you have to honor freedom of speech. Well, how about this, right? What if I just decided to just erase your comments right now and just ban you? I have the right to do that. Is that violating your freedom of speech? No, it's not, because I'm not breaking any laws. I don't have to honor anything that you say, okay? That's also what freedom of speech stands for, is that I don't have to honor what you say. Now, look, if I go and I attack you, okay, or if let's say I'm a government official, or let's say I am a police officer and I decide to lock you up because of what you said, obviously that is violating freedom of speech. Me erasing what you have to say, getting rid of what you have to say, okay, does not equate to violating your freedom of speech to any degree. Mattress says, you don't have to honor what I say, but you have to honor freedom of speech. Of course, man. Of course I honor freedom of speech. I can't go and punch you in the face, right? I don't even know where you live, first and foremost, or punch anyone in the face, the proverbial you, not you specifically. I can't go and punch somebody in the face for what they say, because obviously then I'm going to get arrested for that. That is violating freedom of speech, okay? If I was a government official, or if I decided to lock you up because of what you said, that is violating freedom of speech. Me as a content creator, and me getting rid of you, just like what I'm gonna do with energy right now. I'm gonna get rid of you in a minute. That's really what there it is, right? So I'm getting rid of your comment right there. One more time, I'm getting you up out of here. I told you I don't have to honor what you say, right? You can sit and watch in the sidelines, okay, like a good little boy, and and basically comply to my rules, or you're up out of here. He says, glad you came around to see it from my point of view. Well, Mattress views too, right? I never did not see it in your point of view. I always stood by the fact that you cannot arrest people for what they say. You cannot assault people for what they say. I mean, look, if one of my homies decides to put it on you, and decides to punch you in the face for something that you said to me, I mean, that is clearly on them, right? And then obviously the consequences that follow with that, maybe if they get arrested, or maybe you decide to sue them, that is your God-given right? Because obviously that is what freedom of speech stands for. Now look, let's investigate you now, Plus Energy, right? Okay, obviously no subscribers, okay? Fake picture of somebody that is not you or anyone that you know. So, I mean, look, who am I really talking to? Like, I should be honoring you? You're talking about a shot channel. You don't even have a channel at all, right? So, let's just be honest about that. He says, crazy hater yesterday. By the way, Kyrie won the argument, though. He's the Muslim Charlie Kirk. W. Kyrie, he's the GOAT. Yes, shout out to you on that, my man. He says, LOL, love, hate, respiratory. All the trolls are crying about it today. Emily Sims. I mean, yeah, really, that's really sad. Look, you guys are really simping for this person, and I understand it. Okay, you believe that this person is going to give you a shot. you believe that this person is going to somehow, credit you or give you love or this and that, because, no one in your real life actually gives you any love. And that's just the reality of it. He says, why was Giuliano and Hero Catboy making fun of you in the Giuliano chat after you left Kyrie? Yeah, that's absolutely not true. Absolutely not true at all. So Cole Old says, I'm simping for Iran. Man, that's crazy. He said, did she get banned or what happened? No, I mean, look, like, again, if this person wants to come in here and talk, they are more than welcome to. But I need you guys to understand something, right? I have every right to, ban you or not. If you want to say what you want to say, this is what freedom of speech means. I think a lot of you, really misconstrued the meaning of freedom of speech, okay? Well, for one, let's really talk about the limits of freedom of speech, right? You obviously can't yell fire in a movie theater, right? The classic, cliche statement, right? You cannot yell fire at a movie theater. So as a result of not being able to yell fire at a movie theater, why? Because you are going to incite violence, right? Now, let's also talk about constitutional laws, right? The freedom to pursue life and happiness, right? If I feel that I'm not happy with your statement, can you yell Allahu Akbar on a plane? Depends on the context. If you're yelling it, no, you don't have to erase that. It's fine. But okay, can you yell? If for those of you that didn't read that part, Plus Energy asks, can you yell, Allahu Akbar in a plane? It depends what your context is. During a prayer, you do say Allahu Akbar. Now, if you're doing it at a prayer, you're sitting down in your chair and you're praying and this and that, yes, you can say it. But if you're saying it for the purpose of, let's say, harming people in the plane or have a clear and present danger to the people in the flight, no, you cannot. I think that is fairly obvious, is it not? Plus Energy, right? And here's the thing, right? I'm allowing you to say what you want to say, but that has, he says, there is no other purpose. It's just for violence. Well, there you go, right? That is your own opinion of that matter. And yeah, if you want to think that that's what it is, that's what it is. Look, you guys think that you're gonna like somehow, have this gotcha moment of like, oh, Muslims are violent people or this and that. Let me tell you something, guys. I am a very violent person. I am an extremely violent person, probably more violent than the average person. I know there's other people out there that are very violent, but I can be a very violent person, okay? Because of and by the way, the reason for me being violent has nothing to do with the Islamic religion. It has a lot to do with the upbringing of living in America in both sides of the coast, okay? I lived in the East Coast, okay, where it was nothing but drug dealing and gang banging out there, right? And then in the West Coast, it's nothing but gang banging and more gang banging and more Bloods and Crips and SAs and Asians and all of that, right? So, of course, I'm a violent person. I come from, these types of environments. I know people that grew up in these types of environments, and I'm embedded with people in these types of environments. So, yes, I'm a very violent person, but that has nothing to do with my religion. You understand? I'm also a very violent person because I happen to be, proficiently trained at mixed martial arts and various martial arts, and I'm not afraid to use that violence, for my advantage. Okay, I've done it before. There have been people who, decided they were not going to pay me, my money in the car business, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go do something about it. Like, hey, man, what's up, man? Like, you got something to say? Let's, you know what I mean? Like, of course, but none of those have anything to do with religion. They have more to do with environmental All right, what did Plus Energy here say? He says, mate, my name is Jamie McFadden, Al Dundee, Flat, Loki, Scotland. I told you to come up on camera if, let's... So now you're doxing yourself. That's hilarious. He says, Jamie, I'm in the UK, so F the streams. Let's meet face to face, no lies. Then we can stream what you're saying in my face live. Yeah. So we got people in the background, you know, going at it right now. Let's see here. So okay, Squid, you said that the thumbnail is rage bait, right? What is so rage bait about that? I mean, is he not that? You know, is he not that? If you really think about it, that's really what he is. Like Sean Strickland is the stereotypical, you know, white trash, you know, person. Like think about that, right? He's as white trash as they come. I mean, if you say otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. Like, a lot of you think that Sean Strickland is this, you know, intellectual type of person. He's, you know, far from that. Respiratory says, plus, stop talking. You're only on video. Your channel is playing a stupid Spider-Man game with horrible commentary. There it is, man. He said, MP says, I wouldn't consider Khamzat a Giga Chad considering he supports Ramzan, a warlord whose father sold out his people to the Russians who did horrible things to them. Well, you know, here's the thing, right? Oh, man, that's a very complicated situation. I mean, you're right, but then you're wrong at the same time. He says, haha, it's my We Brothers account. Okay, so that's what you do, huh? You're doing like, what like Spider-Man commentary? So here's the thing, guys. How long do you think Khamzat will last without shooting a takedown with Sean Strickland in the first round? I think that he's going to take him down, like, literally within the first round. You know, that's what I think. I think that he's going to take him down in the first round. And, yeah, Khamzat wins only because he's good at grappling. No hate to anyone, but that's what it is. Yes, that's really what's going to happen here, right? You know, I think that it's just going to be a straight grappling match. And, you know, and then there's nothing more to it, right? I think that he's going to take him down and perhaps maybe even eventually take him down. He says, I told you, pussies, come on camera. Dude, listen, nobody's going to listen to you, okay? Like, you need to stop with this, right? Muslim Chad, you're so geeked. Well, I mean, look, you came in here based on the thumbnail, right? Look, guys, I need you to understand something, right? Just because I write something on, you know, on a thumbnail, it doesn't mean that, you know, I necessarily believe it or there's some truth and factuality of it. Look, this is YouTube by the end of the day, guys. You need to understand that, you know, when it comes to YouTube, you know, that's what it is. That's what you have to do. You have to garner attention. He says, plus, watch your language. He says, Sean is a likable person out of the cage, honestly. Yes. I would say so. Because he's likable to a lot of you people who are average people. Let's just be honest about this, right? Sean Strickland is an extraordinary person in terms of his fighting ability, but, you know, unfortunately, you know, a lot of you, you know, relate to him because of the stupidity and the things that he says. So hold on a second. Let me go use the bathroom real quick. You know, I've been peeing a lot. Hold on. Okay, so he says, where about, look, here's the thing, plus energy one, right? What you got to understand is that nobody is going to come and see you, okay? We don't know who you are, what you are. You don't have any traction. You don't have anything on your channel. So why would anybody even, entertain that? I mean, it sounds like the dumbest idea, to just show up where you're at because you asked to do so, because you made a challenge that, literally means nothing, or, it's just, a whole bunch of empty statements. Squid says, even if Sean loses, doesn't mean he's wrong about anything he says out of the cage. He's usually right. You know what he says? Not my channel. I'll give you my email. Though I don't really care about your email. You know what? Listen, you say something else, we're going to get rid of you. Okay? How about that? We're going to get rid of you, and then you can come back and redeem yourself. Anyways, look, Tim Griffith, he says, you really need to watch the hit movie 1993 Jurassic Park. Let me address what Squid 166 said, right? I think that's a good point, okay? He said that, look, I need you guys to read what he said, right? He said, even if Sean loses, it doesn't mean that he's usually wrong about anything he says out of the cage. He's usually right. So here's the thing about this, right? Just because you say something about a person, right, outside of the cage and you lose, it doesn't mean that they are wrong. But guess what, man? You know how history is, right? History is predicated on the reality. History is predicated on reality of the winners. Okay? Now look, World War II. We know who won World War II, right? But there are a fringe group of people out there, let's say Nick Fuentes' people, that will say, hey, you know what? Even though these people won, these people were right. You understand what I mean, right? Plus Energy says, why did Khamzat suck up to the dictator who terrorized and made his family flee? Was it his family that made him flee? I mean, I don't know about all that. And look, also, look, here's something you got to understand, right? The whole dictator thing that you guys are talking about, you guys are speaking from a very privileged American position. I'm just going to be honest about that, right? You as an American, you have the right, you have every right to say whatever it is that you want about Joe Biden, about Obama, about Donald Trump, and you also have the right to refuse, let's say, courting you at a UFC event. You have the right to do that. Khamzat, understand this, right? Khamzat does not have the same privilege that you have, okay? So I think we understand that, right? I think we understand that. He says, I'm Scottish, not American. But I'm not talking to you specifically. See, this is the problem with your, highly inflated self-importance. A guy who, by the way, has no channel. I don't know what you look like. I don't even know if you're real. And then you're over here challenging people on the chat to meet with you, in the UK or Scotland or whatever part of, the English Isles you're from. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about anybody. Okay, the Scottish Prime Minister right now, right? If you were to say something about, the Prime Minister of Scotland right now, what do you think will happen to you? What do you think will happen to you if you were to speak something about the Prime Minister of Scotland, right? John Sweeney, if you were to say something about John Sweeney, do you think that something bad would happen to you? No. If you refuse to meet with John Sweeney, okay, what do you think will happen to you? Absolutely nothing. It's a completely different, scenario. He says, I'll come up on the stream. I've told you. You're not, because you probably can't afford to come to California, my man. I'm sorry to tell you, you probably can't afford to come to California. And if you were to come to California, I highly doubt that you would waste your time and energy and resources to come up here, meet a whole bunch of gang members, and the next thing you know, you're, stuck somewhere, ending up like Pop Smoke, ending up like Biggie Smalls. I don't think you want to come here, and if you do, you better take your ass to Disneyland or Universal Studios, because this ain't a movie, bro. So, that's really all there is to it. All right, listen, one more time. We're going to ban, Plus Energy the minute he says something. No, you know what? Let's not ban him. Let's let him keep talking, and let him shoot his shot so that he can look stupid and more idiotic as time goes on. So, let's see here. What else do we have here? Okay, so who is going to be in this card at UFC 328? Let's take a look at who is going to be at the UFC 328 card right here. So let's see here. All right, Alexander Volkov taking on Waldo Acosta. That's going to be the co-main event. Hate Love says, respiratory, thank you. He says, Hate Love, we the best mod duo. Shout out to you guys. You guys are. +1, you really gonna buy 1K plane ticket to talk to this guy? I mean, look, this is, do you guys understand that this is all just bravado? Like, a lot of you guys online are just bravado. Like, you know that. You know that that's all bravado. You know that that's not real. That's not real. Like, if he was going to come to California, the last thing he would do is come here. He says, no, everyone seems to be dumb. I want to join the live stream through my phone. You can't clearly. Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. So you're saying you want to come. Okay, but here's the thing, Plus Energy. Why should we give you the time of the day? Explain to me why. Explain to me why we should give you the time of the day when, you know, clearly nobody knows who you are. No one knows you. No one, you know, has seen you. You don't have any traction online. Why should we give you any clout? Like, think about that. Think about how unintelligent that sounds, right? That we're going to give you the time of the day, you know, when nobody knows you, no one cares to know you, and you don't even have any traction online. Please tell me. John Dong says, what fight was announced yesterday do you like the most? Okay, so there's Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley, Alexander Volkov and Acosta. That's a good one. Bobby Green versus Jeremy Stevens. That's a good one. Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Gustav. That's a good one. Tiba Gutierrez against Ozzy Diaz. That's a very good one. Roman Kopylov taking on Mario Tulo. Clayton Carpenter taking on Jose Ochoa. That's a good one. And then Santos. And yeah, these are all pretty good fights. So let's see. He says, mate, I'll come on the stream through my phone right now and send me a link. I don't want to send you a link. MP says, attention equals more views equals more revenue. Hate Love says, John, hi, Kyrie is just taking out the trash. Then we can get back to the real topics. Yeah, I don't mind the trash being in here. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, I mean, look, I understand, you know, Plus Energy is trash. He wants to come on the phone so bad. But why am I, look, Plus Energy, give me one good reason why I should put you on the phone. Maybe I'll do it. He said, send me a link, Howard. I want to talk to you. No. Why am I going to send you a link? Why? Like, give me a good reason why I should send you a link. And, you know, you probably don't have, you know, really any good or legitimate reasons to do so. You know, you just want to, like, talk. This is literally what you want to do, right? Jimmy says, hey, yeah, great. You know, I know Giuliano and I are, you know, are pretty good friends in real life. So, you know, I mean, that's what it comes down to. So anyways, yeah, my favorite matchup, other than the main event on this one, is, what do you call it? Alexander Volkov and Acosta. Yeah, but here's the thing, Plus Energy, you don't even have, you know, a picture to prove that. So, you know, hey, I'm not doubting you, but you don't have a picture or anything identified. You know what, man? One more time, we're gonna get rid of you. We're gonna get rid of you one more time. You know, you're begging. Look at you. You're begging. You know what? I'm gonna make you beg the whole. You know what? Maybe I'll send you a link. Maybe I'll send you a link if you're a good boy. Okay. I'll send you a good boy. I'll send you a link if you're a good boy. He says, I don't have YouTube. Haha. Well, that's your problem. You know what I mean? So why am I just going to let a random stranger, like, think about that, right? All right, listen, you're up out of here. You're up out of here. And boom. Get Plus Energy up out of here, okay? We're getting Plus Energy up out of here right now. Plus Energy is out for 5 minutes. I'm going to give you a 5-minute timeout, Plus Energy. So come back in 5 minutes. Maybe we'll decide to, you know, give you, you know, some clout by then. You know, the clout that you desperately are looking for. But anyways, so all right. How I see the Waldo Acosta fight against Alexander Volkov. Yeah, this is a good one, man. Alexander Volkov. Right, he's a dark horse in the heavyweight division. He says, Jesus, man, you give way too much attention to the trolls. You know what? You're right, bro. You're absolutely right, MP. He says, Kyrie, we can he can come back. I hit him. You hit who? Well, you hit who? Plus energy? Well, oh no, I gave him a 5-minute timeout. But anyways, all right. So Alexander Volkov, a gatekeeper of the heavyweight division, right? A lot of people argued that he probably won against Cyril Gane, right? But Cyril Gane obviously went on to fight Tom Aspinall. But then we saw how Tom Aspinall really dismantled Alexander Volkov so easily, right? Just absolutely dismantled him, right? And after he got dismantled, I mean, now you got to think, wow, you know what, man, maybe he's done for it. And the next thing you know, he does that to Cyril Gane. Well, now Waldo Acosta is a step up, right? Alexander Volkov is number 2 in the heavyweight division right now, right? He's number 2 in a heavyweight division right now. Waldo is number 5 in the UFC. And this is a great opportunity for Waldo to shoot up for a heavyweight championship opportunity. Okay, a great opportunity to shoot up for a championship. All he's got to do is beat this guy. He beats this guy, he can call out any shots he wants. How about this, man? Jeremy Stephens. By the way, Jeremy Stephens is coming back to the UFC now. How awesome is that? Look, I love that. I love that Jeremy Stephens can jump from BKFC all the way down to the UFC. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing that he's able to do that. On top of that, he's probably going to go back to BKFC as well, right? At some point, he will probably fight Conor McGregor. You know what, man? Why not have Jeremy Stephens fight Conor McGregor, period, right? That's probably a good matchup between them, right? Having him fight, Jeremy Stephens would probably be a good idea, a very good idea. Because if you think about it, Jeremy Stephens and Conor McGregor have ongoing beef. They both have ongoing beef. If you remember when he said, who the F is that guy? Remember that? Like, man, that was amazing, man. That was great. So, I think that right there can really bring, some really interesting matchups right there. Really interesting matchups, Jeremy Stephens and Conor McGregor at some point. But he's facing Bobby Green. Now, Bobby Green looked great in his last matchup. MP says Conor's not coming back ever again. Not so fast. He is just in the summertime, just not in at the White House. Just not at the White House. They can't afford him to, be at the White House. So, as a result, they're going to, just have him, in the summertime. So another fight, Jan Blachowicz taking on Bogdan Gustav. Ooh, that is a good fight right there. That is a good fight. And then Atiba Gauthier, right? Scary looking African dude, right? Scary looking Cameroonian. He's basically the middleweight Francis Ngannou. MP says he's an older man in the fight game. He's got a lot of injuries and has nothing left to prove. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is, what do you call it? Who is, too rich for his own good at this point of his UFC career. Really just too rich for his own good. And for him to come back, man, it's going to take a lot for him to come back. So, it would depend on the opponent. Now, look, who is this opponent going to be in International Fight Week, right? They were talking about Carlos Prates, perhaps, right? Who, man, let's see. Is Carlos Prates the one who's going to fight next? Carlos Prates next fight. Hate Love says, MP, I agree, but I also think he wants to prove something more to himself than anyone. Jack Della Maddalena. Okay, so it's Jack Della Maddalena. It's going to be a main event at May 2nd. Okay, that's at May 2nd. So when is UFC 328 then? I didn't put the exact date on this one. May 9th. Okay, so that's going to be on May 9th right there. May 9th. Wow. Yeah, those are the only fights that they have assigned so far. You know, Clayton Carpenter, Jose Ochoa. He says, Squid, I got Alex Pereira. Who do you have? You know what, man? I think Cyril Gane is going to win that fight, guys. You know, I know you guys are excited about Alex Pereira coming into the heavyweight division, but I'm going to give that fight to Cyril Gane. I think he's just too big. And on top of that, think about this, right? Cyril Gane is a striking expert, right? Being that he's a striking expert, what is Alex Pereira's expertise? And given the fact that that is his only expertise, what else is he going to do? He says, I heard some rumors Evloev is dropping out of his fight against Murphy. Is that true? Bro, I hope not, right? We're almost, you know, just we're about 1 week away now, right? Evloev injured. Let's see. Let's ask. Evloev withdrew. Oh, wait a minute. No, that was back in July. Okay, that was back in July 2025. Okay, so here it is. He denies rumors of UFC London withdrawal. Okay, there's actually a Yahoo Sports article about this right here today. Actually, it was written today by Alex Paddle by Yahoo Sports. Evloev has denied rumors that he's out of the UFC London main event next week, insisting that he's still fighting Laron Murphy. Evloev has not fought since December 2024 due to injuries, but is set to have a showdown with Britain's Murphy at the O2 Arena next Saturday, okay? The bout between the unbeaten contenders is widely seen as a title eliminator at the featherweight division, okay, taking on champion Alexander Volkanovski possibly next for the winner. However, rumors circulated this week that Evloev would see his absence from the octagon go on, with the Russian apparently struggling with visa issues. The 32-year-old denies these reports, though, writing on the Telegram Thursday, "Don't listen to unreliable sources. Everything's fine with the visa. We're going for the victory." Okay, so that should give you guys, you know, a bit of some indication right there. He says, as long as Cyril Gane doesn't do some room temperature stuff, like decide to sit and trade with Alex. He says, room temp IQ. John Dong says, I don't think Cyril Gane is going to trade with Pereira. Wasn't trading with Aspinall or Ngannou. Okay. So Evloev, the speculation that Evloev withdrew has only heightened from a video. Jean Silva, the UFC 6th ranked featherweight, Silva speaking via his Instagram story, appeared to suggest that he would share big news soon, saying, I'm the next champion and you're going to have to see that. So Hate Love says, MP, I think that's what will happen. I think Alex just with a fight IQ could win. Remember this, we talk about it on the stream after the actual fight. Yeah, so Alex Perez, I don't think his IQ is going to help with this fight. Cyril Gane is too big, guys. And look, if Cyril Gane can do what he did to Tom Aspinall, do you honestly think that Alex Pereira could do anything to Cyril Gane? Think about that, right? It's going to be, you know, a very difficult matchup for him, you know, in that right. So let's see here. What else? What else does this article talk about here? That's about it. Hold on. Let me go to the bathroom, pee real quick. Sorry about that. Had to, you know how it is, Ramadan, you drink a lot of water. And yeah, he says, yeah, I just mean remember who I choose and call out when I deny it if Alex loses. Okay, gotcha. Squid says, I don't know, man. Gane was piecing up Tom up against Pereira is not as big of them either. MP says, absolutely, man. The difference between Alex and Tom is that Tom throws 100% power, which is very amateurish compared to Alex, who throws precise, well-placed shots. But Cyril Gane is used to that. If you think about it, Respiratory says, "You sure you're not?" Yeah, no. Yeah. Respiratory, shut up. Respectfully, shut up, my man. Yeah. Anyways. So. Either way, Murphy appeared unfazed, sharing a video of himself at the gym 9 days from his third UFC main event. It says Manchester fighter 34 will enter UFC London on a 9-fight win streak with an overall record of 17-0. Yes, sir. Yes. Like really, like seriously, like I love you, bro, but shut up, okay? Like respectfully. Thank you. All right. So, the Russian's last fight was a narrow points win over former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling, while Murphy last competed in August, knocking out Aaron Pico with a spinning back elbow. Silva, 29, actually competed as recently as this week, but outside the UFC as he faced Bryce Mitchell in a grappling match. Now, did you guys see that, right? Bryce Mitchell got into a brawl at Brazil, right? I think it was against John Silva. So, they got into a brawl, man. That was great. Who's seen that video? Let me see if I could pull up that video of, if I could pull up that video of the brawl. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Well, this was a submission match, but he got into a brawl. Okay. Backstage brawl right here. He says, "Have they wrestled yet? When is that happening?"
Backstage altercation, a fight backstage before the grappling match, and to me it looks like Gene Silva's injured over face off. Gene Silva gets grabbed. So backstage altercation, and I'm going to show this, where they meet. It looks like it starts off by Gene Silva shaking his hand, and then just chaos ensues.
No padding either, bare knuckle.
There you go. So, Bryce Mitchell just here, Gene Silva comes over, tries to shake his hand, and then Bryce Mitchell slaps his drink. I think that's a drink. Yeah, drink of water.
Oh yeah, it was a drink that he slapped out of his hand. Yeah. Respiratory says, Emily, come on, man, leave her alone, right? You know what I mean? Just not even, on here, talking smack or whatever. I think, look, I think that person learned their lesson, okay? Let's just be really honest about that, right? That person learned their lesson, okay? They got caught in a lie. And then you got a bunch of simps in here that are, basically trying to, win their honor, right? The person said that, I'm trolling you while I'm working, and then comes back later and says, hey, I'm what do you call it? My parents own, hotels in Oregon and Washington, okay? Which, by the way, I found out was a lie, okay? You want to continue on, and continue to talk smack. Okay, just remember, he says, yep, no more. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to that person, not talking to you, Respiratory. You're good, man. Much love to you, but you know what it is. You know what I mean? And you know who I'm talking about. But anyways, yeah, man. So, that's what happens. People lie in here. They have things to say. They want to feel better about themselves. They lie about their status, about who they are, just so they can, feel better about themselves. But yeah, man. So yeah, tomorrow it is Josh Emmett versus who is he fighting? The Josh Emmett guy. Let's see here. Okay, what did he say here? They were actually talking about him fighting, and he said, unless they're in the UFC, no one of 200 pounds or lighter has a chance against him. I'm just too big. Anyone less would feel like a child mate. Okay, this is what MMA Guru said about fighting guys that are under 200 pounds. I'm under 200 pounds. I would beat the living hell out of him. Okay, back to Josh Emmett. Who is Josh Emmett fighting this week, right? Probably some unknown guy, but yes, he is the main event coming up. It is Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Yeah, as I said, right, this is going to be a very tough fight for Josh Emmett. You know, very, very tough fight for Josh Emmett. So, yeah, man, I'm going to be curious to see how he's going to do this one. I think... Yeah, man, I think, I hope Josh Emmett wins this one. What do you guys think about that fight, man? Josh Emmett and Kevin Vallejos this weekend. I know it doesn't really have the biggest traction out there right now, but, you know, we will see. We will see how this, you know, how this one unfolds. Yeah. Okay. Other UFC fights. Obviously, Movsar Evloev taking on LaRon Murphy next week. Michael Venom Page is in that card. That's going to be awesome. And this is going to be a 1 p.m. card. They're going to start at 10 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah, that's going to be fun right there. Mason Jones in the undercard. Nathaniel Wood taking on Chieta. He says, honestly, I don't really know either of them, so I can't even guess. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it's a niche, you know, fight for the hardcores. I would, you know, yeah, I would assume. So, you know, that's really what it is. Yeah, how about this, man? Joe Rogan. You know, Joe Rogan fears the Iran might target the UFC event at the White House, right? Joe Rogan said gathering so many U.S. officials and sports celebrities in one place is asking for trouble. Let's hear what they have to say here.
Joe Rogan fears Iran might target the UFC White House event. American podcaster Joe Rogan has expressed concerns about a potential attack on the White House. In a recent podcast, he said that he fears that Iran might target the upcoming UFC White House event set to take place at the iconic residence of the U.S. president. Joe Rogan says White House event is like asking for trouble. Joe Rogan's concerns came shortly after the FBI sounded the alarm on potential Iranian drone strikes on the West Coast. While such an attack has not happened yet, the warning sparked some fears of the war coming home. Rogan responded to these concerns, saying that the White House UFC event would be a prime target of an enemy attack, considering its unprecedented nature. As a fervent MMA enthusiast, Rogan is likely to attend the event himself and could also be impacted by any potential threats.
All right, here's the thing. Respiratory, right? The president will be fine. What about the rest of the people? That is what I'm more concerned about, because obviously the president is going to be high priority when it comes to protecting, you know, the president. He's going to be at a high priority. But what about everyone else? MP says, imagine if Joe Rogan pulls out the White House card. He could, right? I mean, they're also, it's not a guarantee he's the one that is going to be in the card.
He acknowledged that the UFC promised to adopt cutting-edge security measures, but noted that the event is still likely to be associated with a lot of stress. Rogan also stated that it will be weird to have a fight at the White House in the middle of a fucking war, since he doubts that the war will be sorted out by June. Rogan concluded that gathering so many U.S. officials and sports celebrities in one place is like asking for trouble. The event is set to take place in a few months. For context, the UFC event on the grounds of the White House is set to take place in June, coinciding with President Donald Trump's birthday. The fight will temporarily transform the residence's lawn into a fully fledged fighting arena. The event will feature seating for some 5,000...
Respiratory says, I hope and pray that the people of hate do not do something like that. They will try. I hate to say it, but they will try, right? It's an opportunity that is right there for them to take, and I would imagine that it is something that they will try to accomplish. Look, this war is getting ugly. The Iran war is getting ugly. The situation is looking bad for the U.S. There's a lot of allies of the United States that are planning on pulling out, and also planning on well, let me put it like this, right? The Saudis, the Emiratis, the Qataris, they're thinking about siding with China now, okay? Because China seems to offer much more protection for them than the United States. Look, the United States is not offering the Arab world any protection from the Iranians right now, okay? And it was the Arab world that is buying all of these weapons from America, okay? Buying fighter jets, buying military equipment, only for them to suffer in this kind of way. Man, it's not looking good, guys. To be quite honest with you, it's not looking good. I don't like it, but it's the unfortunate reality of what we could face right now. You know what I mean? Just Patrick says, if Joe got his family somehow, some way by now. If they got Joe, got his family some way, somehow. Elaborate on that, Pos. Explain what you mean by that.
The event will feature seating for some 5,000 people on the premises of the White House, while allowing up to 85,000 more people to watch the event from the ellipse. UFC officials will install multiple screens, allowing MMA enthusiasts not to skip a single beat while watching this most unusual event.
All right, so there it is. Yeah, Pos, what do you mean by that? If they got Joe, got his family somehow, some way by now. What do you mean by that? Are you saying that Joe Rogan is compromised because of what they may do to his family or something like that? Explain that to me real quick.
Excited for the White House card? That looks really good.
Yes. I'm excited. It sounds crazy. I know it's going to be very high security and high stress and weird to have a fight at the White House in the middle of a fucking war. But I would hope the war will be sorted out by June, but quite honestly, I'm not confident that that's going to be the case.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so that would be weird.
Yeah.
Having this very high-profile event where everybody's in one place at one time right there.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not excited to be there?
Well, that seems like
Seems
like you're asking for.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that at all.
How could you not think of that?
Well, because I'm not going to be there. You're the one that has to think of it. Are you excited for the White House card? That looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he made a good point. He's like, yeah, you're the one that's going to be there, not me. Hate Love says, yeah, U.S. and Israel unalived their leader in a holy month. Slaughtered children. The U.S. launched attacks on Iran, and I'm sick of the BS double standards. Trump's EDP regime also terrible. What is EDP? Explain to me what EDP is. Explain that.
What do you guys think about this card? I'm gonna be honest with you, as a UFC fan, I just don't think that this was the original card. Could the card have been a lot better? Yeah, like there's fights on here that don't make sense to me. From a fan's perspective, if Michael Chandler's on there, it was obvious McGregor was gonna fight. Like, I don't know why that fight didn't happen. What do you guys think about this card? I'm gonna be honest with you, as a UFC fan, I just don't think that this was the original card. Could the card have been a lot better? Yeah, like there's fights on here that don't make sense to me. From a fan's perspective, if Michael Chandler's on there, it was obvious McGregor was going to fight. Like, I don't know why that fight didn't happen. What do you guys think about this card? I'm going to be honest with you, as a UFC fan, I just...
Okay, let's see.
I would love to see him fight John Jones at the White House.
What's your ideal White House card look like?
John Jones versus Pereira. Conor McGregor versus...
Which didn't happen.
Michael Chandler.
Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor, which didn't happen. EPD says it's a subtle way. Oh, okay, got it, okay.
You know, you want to have some fun. Like, that's a fun fight. And then you'd probably want, like, Islam Makhachev versus Ilya Tuporia. That would be insane.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
fight John Jones at the White House.
What's your ideal White House?
Okay. So what else?
So basically what we did is the matchmakers went out and put together, started talking to everybody, seeing what fights were possible, and then came back to me, and I chose the card.
Nice. Interim title fight at heavyweight with Alex Bejeda and Ciro Gane. I guess reading into that, does that mean there's really no update on when Tom Aspinall will be back? And have you checked in with Eddie Hearn, I guess, an update?
Yeah, Tom, obviously won't be ready for the White House fight, so that's why it's an interim title fight.
Nice.
All right. Well, that makes sense. He says Joe Rogan at a White House event, unusual venues. Let's hear this. This is him saying this 3 months ago. He says, I have to be really careful. It's Ramadan, and I don't want to be bad in any way, so I don't want to say the word that's all. Okay, got it. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Open experience.
So, Jamie, what were you just saying? I stopped you because it sounds so crazy.
Trump said there's going to be 8 to 9 title fights at the White House UFC event, and that they're, I guess, in quotes, withholding.
Okay, first of all,
title fights right now.
there's only 8 weight classes. So how's there going to be 9 title fights?
Oh. Maybe a BMF fight. Maybe at a BMF. Maybe you have all.
I guess, but that's kind of a crazy thing. We're going to have 20 title fights. All the title fights it's ever been. Did he say any matchups?
No, he didn't say who. He just said they're gonna. I'll see if there's even like a tweet about it. But I just saw him talking about it. It was like a press conference or something.
Well, if they don't do John Jones at the White House, I think it'd be a travesty. For sure.
So obviously we know that it was not 8 or 9 title fights, right? That just sounds absolutely impossible to do, right? So yeah, let's see what else they're saying here. Yeah, so that was a little bit of an old clip right there. Yeah, let's see here. Eric Trump, let's hear this.
Who would you love to see on the White House card? I mean, John Jones has to fight.
He thinks he'll be on it?
I would love to see him. It's funny. He put up a tweet the other day, it's like, I don't know, a month ago, where he had like one...
The person you're hearing on the background, by the way, is Eric Trump. He says, be right back. Please like and subscribe. Let's have a respectful stream. We got a great host, Kyrie MMA. Yeah, shout out to you,
spot
man.
left on his wall. He had all the titles, and then he had one spot left, and he took a picture of it. So I feel like he has one left in him. And, man, if there's ever one that you're going to do, it's the White House.
Who would you love to see on the White House?
All right.
I mean, I would love to see him.
Okay.
Dana White finally announced the White House card, and it's actually crazy.
Dana White telling us about this historical card and what a card it is.
We're in a unique position here when we have Pereira, who had the opportunity to become a 3-weight champion.
The main event, Ilya Taporia, one of the most sensational champions we've ever seen inside the octagon, facing Justin Gaethje, which I think is the absolute perfect matchup for him. Ilya Taporia has been just a complete and total...
He says, I am Khabib. Sure you are. Sure you are. Yeah, that's a cool story, bro. No, really, tell me where you're from, my man. Tell me what part of the world you are from, and let me know how you found this channel. Shout out to all you guys right now, man. Shout out to everybody that's in the channel right now. How you found this channel. Shout out to all you guys. All right, here we go.
Phenom, once-in-a-generational talent. And, of course, Alex Pereira, who has just been a freak of nature. Those two at the White House should be insane. And I can't wait to see what happens at the White House lawn.
Dana White finally announced the White House card, and it's actually crazy.
Dana White telling us about this historical card and what a card it is.
We're in a unique position here when we have Pereira, who had the opportunity to become a 3-weight champion.
The main event, Ilya Taporia.
All right. Okay, we got some updates on the Iran war right now.
Low-carb, high-protein meals every day. These are my lunches this week. Eating carnivore or keto isn't cheap or fast, so I tried this with cooking.
This inside of his multiple explosive devices inside of his vehicle. Multiple. He's a resident of Dearborn, Michigan, or at least the vehicle is registered in Dearborn, Michigan. Yesterday I was tracking police helicopters. They're out searching the area. Allegedly, there's multiple people that were in there. They locked down the entire area and told the people in the area that they were clearing it for explosive devices, not to worry about anything else. But you saw on the call screen that there was 2 suspects. Allegedly. So we don't know if they're chasing down a second suspect right now, raiding and searching for. That's what I'm being told is that they're current.
All right, so there was an active shooter going on in, there's an active shooter going on in Temple, you know, in Israel Temple right now. West Bloom Township. Where is West Bloom Township at? He says Topuria is better than Khabib. Topuria would knock Khabib out. I highly doubt that, my man. You know, that's fantasy talk, to be quite honest with you. Okay, this is a town in Michigan. Okay, oh, wow. All right, vehicle attacks. Okay, so let's hear what's going on right now. There's...
Take the fight to the enemy wherever you can.
We got breaking news going on right now.
Attacks look like they were taking place yesterday. At least 3. At least 1 was planned, 2 were executed, and another one probably got thwarted. And we've got multiple bomb threats and stuff being called all around the country, as you guys just saw up on the screen. So yeah, I do believe that we're going to have some of these issues. Incognito Faraday becoming an ultimate true supporter. Hell yeah, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate that. What's even worse about the Temple shooting is this. Just a couple weeks ago, the FBI decided it would be a good idea to conduct an active shooter training for the Temple staff, likely including security. Now, warning to all the Muslim extremists out there, the temples are guarded. They are guarded by armed guards, former IDF armed guards. Every single one of them is what I'm being told. So if you're dumb enough to attack it, just know that you will meet Allah.
By the way, breaking news, yes, Jewish temples are being attacked in the Midwest right now. Breaking news. Jewish temples are being attacked in the Midwest.
The FBI had to go and conduct active shooter training. No. FBI knew that one of the largest temples in North America, which is a Reform temple, which, so you basically have, it's not like you're, how do I want to say this? It's not like you're like extreme, you know, like conservative Jewish type. No, it's different. It's a Reformed Jewish temple. One of the largest in North America. They obviously had the foresight to go and conduct active shooter training, but people are taking that and they're trying to scream that it is some sort of a false flag attack because, God forbid, we blame radical Islam, right? People over inside of, what do you call it? People over inside of, oh man, what do you call that place? Dearborn, are whining and complaining because the guy is from Dearborn and he's got ties back to Lebanon and they're trying to pretend like it wasn't a big deal. Dominion University. Freaking.
Yeah, that means a lot. I mean, if he's from Dearborn, Michigan, and he's got ties to Lebanon, that means a lot.
A freaking trash ISIS guy who got released in 2024, who should have been freaking deported and denaturalized, wasn't, remained in the United States and conducted an attack that took the life of an active duty service member and wounded several people. And yet, nobody in the United States, for some reason, thinks it's a problem. Everybody in the United States wants to pawn it off and act like...
And look, there's another gunman in Virginia going on right now, right? There's a lot of terrorist attacks going on across the United States right now.
This is allegedly the Facebook profile for the shooter from the temple.
This is the shooter's Facebook page.
Full of praise that this guy had on his Facebook profile should have set off massive alarms. Massive alarms. We have people that are openly praising Hezbollah that have been conducting these terror attacks across the United States of America. You would think that these would be red flags. You would think, but they're not. Chuck says my daughter's school is within sight of Old Dominion. Oh man, that's crazy. Austin White says, I'm here. What did I miss? You missed terror attacks, man. 2 terror attacks yesterday. 3, really. 4, if we're going to count the next one that I'm about to show you guys here in just a sec. Oh, by the way, they got...
Damn, bro. So there's 4 terrorist attacks going on right now. This is crazy work, man. I'm going to have to change the title of this live stream here real quick. I got to change some titles here. Let me see here. Let's see here. Breaking news. All right, there we go. Breaking news, terror attacks across the United States. So, where can you say this? Let's see here. Okay, terror attacks across USA. All right, here we go.
Why? Well, in my opinion, it's because you have people that have been supporting Hezbollah and have been supporting Hamas, trying to claim that, you know, the United States of America and Israel are these evil devils, when the reality is it's Hezbollah.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people?
No. Anyways.
Israel needs committed
Wars, they're bad politics paid for in blood. You are correct. And we're starting to see some of that stuff paid for in blood right now. And I have no doubt that I'm going to continue to get it. I'm going to start and continue to get crap flicked on me. If you guys don't believe me that the other guy that ended up targeting Dominion was a former ISIS terrorist, here is your press release. Former Army National Guard member arrested for attempting to provide material support to ISIL. Same thing. Islamic State of Iraq and the Lebanon, or the Levant. More proper name. Matt Borgeson says, close the border for 5 years. This isn't 28 years later. That's a dumbass solution. That would cause so many economic problems, you wouldn't get it. Oh, economic problems from forbidding people migrating to the United States of America till we completely and totally reform our immigration system.
Yeah, look, honestly, that's a stupid idea. A lot of you don't understand the economic implications that come with that.
Unless you are married to somebody in the United States of America, and that person is directly vouching for you, until we figure out our immigration system in the United States of America, we're going to go ahead and turn that spigot off. Curly Hair Jew says, headed to Houston from BWI Tuesday. Any intel on airline issues or threats? Yeah. Let's not forget about last week when we had the nut job, or was it over the weekend when we had the guy claim that he had a bomb? It was en route from, Country Music Hall of Fame location, Nashville. It's going from Nashville down to Florida, and they had to divert the flight.
Hey, chat, tell me, what do you guys think is causing all of this terror attacks right now? Is it Iran? Because the problem is, right, we can't necessarily just exclusively blame it on Iran, considering that these are mostly Sunnis that are doing this, right? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of ISIS and ISIL, material support that kind of goes on with this. So I don't know if we can just necessarily blame this on Hezbollah or Iran, which are Shia factions.
Terror attacks that are coming out, and they're all radical jihadists. Let's make that perfectly clear. Like, there's no other way to get around that. If I'm missing something here, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me in the chat, but it most certainly appears as if it's radical Islam that's coming off. And I warned you guys about this, and I told you, if we end up killing the Ayatollah, just wait. It's going to come. Why?
But here's the thing, right? That's the Ayatollah for the Shias. These are mostly Sunnis that are doing this.
And we're continuing to target them. But they're also radical Islamic terrorists. And so at what point in the United States of America do we sit back and we go, you know what? Your Second Amendment has restrictions. Even your First Amendment, when it comes to protesting, has restrictions. Your First Amendment, when it comes to freedom of speech, has restrictions. But why haven't we looked at religion and said, you know what? All of these other things were designed to be good, just like religion, but it's very clear that religion is a driving factor here. And if you're going to be teaching Islam in the United States of America, maybe you ought to take a class from a dang government about practicing safe Islam, like I have to take a class to carry a firearm, or to practice firearm safety, or to get a hunter's license.
Okay, this dude is an idiot, right? Talking about, oh, you gotta practice safe Islam. You gotta practice safe Islam. There's only one Islam. I mean, that's a retarded statement to make.
Sierra Leone, if I remember correct. He was from Sierra Leone. The other guy was from Lebanon. The guy that ended up attacking the temple was from Lebanon. The guy that attacked Old Dominion was from Lebanon. I'm sorry, the guy that attacked Old Dominion was from Sierra Leone. The guy that attacked the temple was from Lebanon. There we go. Why wouldn't he lose it? It's beyond me. He got released underneath Biden. He got convicted in court. He got sentenced to jail, and he ends up getting let out early. That's the worst part about it. He got let out of jail early. Matt Bordenson says maybe close the border for Middle Eastern immigration to the U.S. We've been causing havoc to those families' lives for 30 years. We have been. Like, Southern United States of America, you want to talk about, like, havoc? Like, go look at what's happening in those communities down there. That's havoc. But the Middle East, we haven't been causing havoc to the families in the Middle East. And this is something that I think a lot of people really miss out on. I'm just coming at you from a guy that's got years inside of the Middle East fighting Islamic terrorism. These families that are affected by it, by and large, are supporting the foreign terror organizations. In one way or another. I remember going into freaking people's houses in Iraq that had absolutely no idea that their husbands were setting up rockets and shooting them. And that their dad was out conducting jihad when he went out to go get milk. Like, they hide some of this stuff from their families and they're just not aware of it. Johnny. No, not the looses, Matt. Why you struck me with PTSD from my ex-wife misspelling homonyms all the time. Love you. Oh my goodness. Did I put loses or looses on the oh man, that would be embarrassing if I did that. Let me go check, because if I did, I gotta edit it now. So let me get in there and fix that real quick, because that's not good. Oh, I did. Looses. Well, thank you for freaking bringing that to my attention. Everybody else didn't want to do it. Now it's updated, so it actually looks correct. So let's go ahead and save that. Sorry, man. I'm typing really fast and doing things in the morning. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I really, really do. Anyways. All right, so let's keep the show rolling. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That I put looses, not loses. It's all right, just, dude, I got ADHD and I've got...
Let's, okay, so, I think, man, there's a lot going on here. Man, I don't like that statement. He says, oh, you got to practice safe Islam, or, you know, this, that, and the other. I mean, that sounds like a really stupid statement, talking about practicing safe Islam and all of that. You know what I mean? What does that even mean? Practice safe Islam. All right, let's go back from, you know, the very beginning here. Let's see here. See what he's talking about right now.
Naturalized citizen from, I believe it was Sierra Leone. And then was shouting Allah Akbar as he was killing people. So yeah, in my opinion, I think he's a raging pile of crap. The other guy from the temple shooting, which, by the way, this isn't just your average temple. This is like the biggest temple in the United States of America. Has ties back to Lebanon. He's a Lebanese immigrant.
By the way, the guy that's speaking right now, he's former Special Forces, I believe, right? So, you know, I suppose he knows what he's talking about.
Empathize with them. Hezbollah has this version, pretty much like what the Hitler Youth had. It's pretty much equivalent to the Hitler Youth, where they're all like, they pawn it off as like a Boy Scout camp, but it's not. It looks like they all partook in it, from what I can find online. You know, and again, that's all unconfirmed, but it most certainly appears as if he is at least associated with Hezbollah via family, and that his siblings 100% took part in the Hezbollah freaking Hitler Youth camps. This guy's story is way more disturbing than the other one. Other one just walked in the classroom, started shooting. This guy's different. This guy's totally different. What he did at the temple shooting yesterday, completely and totally different. And it should alarm people. I ended up getting sent this yesterday while I was homesick, or whatever you want to call it, taking the day off. When I was given updates over on X, this is, you're looking at the call screen, all right, that ended up coming in for this particular call. Someone drove their truck through the school entrance, possibly 2 shooters, and possession of an explosive. No known victims. Car went through school entrance. Vehicle drove through the school entrance as well. 9 shots heard inside the building at the Temple, Israel. Now, as I was getting all of these updates and stuff like that yesterday that was going on over...
What's going on, Hate Love? Yeah, we got more terrorist attacks happening across the U.S. right now.
Trying to figure out what was going on. You guys can see the smoke and whatnot pouring out of the school.
What do you think about all this, Hate Love? Everybody in the chat, let me know what you guys think about all of this going on right now. Is it a false flag operation, or is there some legitimate terrorist attacks that are going on here and something that we should really be scared about? And by the way, this kind of leads into the whole White House thing, right? Like, how safe is the White House event going to be as a result of this? We will find out.
Explosive devices inside of his... Multiple explosive devices inside of his vehicle. Multiple. He's a resident of Dearborn, Michigan, or at least the vehicle is registered in Dearborn, Michigan. Yesterday, I was tracking police helicopters. They were out searching the area. Allegedly, there's multiple people that were in there. They locked down the entire area and told the people in the area that they were clearing it for explosive devices and not to worry about anything else. But you saw on the call screen that there is 2 suspects.
D-Man, what is some BS? Are you saying that this is a false flag operation? Like, when you're saying BS, is that what you mean? Like, you're saying it's BS that this is happening, or it's BS that it's a false flag operation? Let me know what you mean. He says, like, 500 cops showed up, waste of taxpayers' money. Why? I mean, there's some, legitimate investigation going on, right? Why would it be a waste of taxpayers' money? Let me know in the comment section below.
In that evening, they weren't able to get off post. Like, everything was locked down. The entranceways on and off, completely and totally locked down. They couldn't get on or off. So we've got these different threats, these different terror attacks are taking place. Why? Because the Muslim clerics have been calling to have these attacks take place in the United States. Take the fight to the enemy wherever you can.
But the problem is, this is a Shia situation, not a Sunni situation, right? So they must be doing this for a different reason.
At least one was planned, 2 were executed, and another one probably got thwarted. And we've got multiple bomb threats and stuff.
Yeah, look, we can vouch and agree that this is a Sunni Muslim attack, right? But because it's a Sunni Muslim attack, I think it is unrelated to Iran. That's what I think. That is my humble opinion on it. Now, people are saying this is a false flag operation because they had an active shooter attack prevention and prepared readiness course by special agents. Depth says even 100 cops would suffice. Okay, I see what you're saying, right? 100 cops sort of in the scene investigating. And you know what? Most of those cops are not even there to investigate. Like, realistically, it is probably only like 5 detectives working with special agents and FBI, and then the rest of them are just basically blocking the streets off, staying guard to make sure that people are not tampering with evidence.
This active shooter training. Of course the FBI had to go and conduct active shooter training. No. FBI knew that one of the largest temples in North America, which is a Reform temple, so you basically have, it's not like you're, how do I want to say this? It's not like you're like extreme, like conservative Jewish type. No, it's different. It's a Reformed Jewish temple. One of the largest in North America. They obviously had the foresight to go and conduct active shooter training, but people are taking that and they're trying to scream that it is some sort of a false flag attack because, God forbid, we blame radical Islam, right? People over inside of, what do you call it? People over inside of, what do you call that place? Dearborn, are whining and complaining because the guy is from Dearborn and he's got ties back to Lebanon, and they're trying to pretend like it wasn't a big deal. Dominion University. Additionally, we saw a day.
All right, let's start this off from the very beginning of his live stream. Right. By the way, shout outs to Matt. I forgot his last name. Sounds like an Italian name, but his name is Matt. Tardito. Okay, Matt Tardito. He is the host of the Speak the Truth podcast. He's a former Delta Force guy. He knows a lot about this subject. So, I think it's only right that we, give him the honor and respect to listen to what he has to say on this particular topic.
of terror attacks yesterday across the United States of America, and even one that you probably didn't hear about that we're going to go over today as well. Obviously, we had the one over at Old Dominion and also over at the Temple Israel, but who is it that's conducting these attacks, and should you be worried? The answer is, yeah, you should, to be quite frank. And it's the usual suspects, as you would guess, radical Islamists. We have ISIS and Hezbollah that's been attributed to both of these attacks. So what's to come in the future? El-Kheer already in the house, giving out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Before we get into our update over what's going on here over in the United States of America, I want to give you guys a quick war update as everybody's just kind of jumping in here from the the Chairman and Joint Chief, Raising Cane.
Project power beyond their borders and protect our deployed. In just the first 13 days of this operation, our artillery forces have made history. They fired the first precision strike missiles ever used in combat, reaching deep into enemy territory. They've used Army...
All right, we're going to skip through this because these Washington, D.C. Department of War, Department of Defense people are just going to spew a whole bunch of numbers that really mean nothing, right? They're not going to tell you about CIA agents that were killed across overseas, right? Which, by the way, is a reality, right? But yeah, we're not going to listen to a bunch of talking robots, but we will hear what Matt Tarbito has to say because he knows what he's talking about, and he may offer some pretty insightful insights to this matter.
And everything else, but then probably my favorite statement that he ended up putting out was all the way over at the end. He said they've been killing innocent people over...
He says, we are totally destroying the terrorist regime of Iran, militarily, economically, and otherwise. Yet, if you read the failing New York Times, you would incorrectly think that we are not winning. Iran's navy is gone. Their air force is no longer missiles, drones, and everything else being decimated. And their leaders have been wiped out from the face of the earth, and we have unparalleled firepower, unlimited ammunition, and plenty of time. Watch what happens to these deranged scumbags today. They've been killing innocent people. Well, we've been killing innocent people all over the world for 47 years, and now, as the 47th president of the United States of America, am killing them. What a great honor it is to do so. Thank you for the attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
For all over the world for 47 years, and now I, as the to do so. That is the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. That would be the Commander-in-Chief of the United States military. Probably one of his most famous statements, in my opinion, or should be more famous, that came out the other day was, this is Donald Trump stating that he asked the frickin' military, why is it that we're sinking all of these Iranian ships and we're not just taking them for ourselves and using them in our military? And they told him that, honestly, it's just a lot more fun. And he kind of giggled about it, and he actually thought it would be a good idea to bring it up to the press. And I couldn't agree more because, truthfully, once you have a war that is being fought by politicians, it stops being successful. And so in this case, it seems like we have our military that's being cut loose legally to do what they need to do over there, which is a very, very good thing. Now, before we get into the terror attacks here in the United States of America that took place yesterday, I want to bring this one up to you. This is probably one that you hadn't seen. Man arrested on a felony charge after entering a Spring Elementary School armed and in tactical gear, according to court docs. This actually...
All right, yeah, this is not cool, man. Going after kids in a school like that, yeah, it's definitely not cool.
Ended up coming out last night, and this took place over in Spring, Texas. Texas, the place that has been over Islamified for God only knows how long, things that we have all been complaining about, to be perfectly honest, and no other real information has came out of that other than the fact that his name, Kyle Najim Chris, also known as Muhi Maknad Najim, 39 of Klein, was charged with possession of a prohibited firearm. So guess what he was trying to do, because we've seen these increased attacks going on across the United States. And I called this yesterday over on X. I was out of the studio yesterday because I had given blood, and I've just been running on E since this war kicked off, and my body was like, bro, you need to relax and take a break. So I took a break yesterday, but I'm back this morning. I'll be back again tonight. But the bottom line is, what is it that we're looking at? Well, it's radical Islam. I'm gonna lay it out there plainly and clearly for everybody. It's radical Islam. This guy right here, Jola.
Hate Love says Iran is defending itself from Western terrorism, Christian extremism, real terrorists, USA, fake Jews is literally a terrorist state. Your terrorists illegally murdered children and their leader. Okay.
Or Hola, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He was arrested like a long time ago for providing material support to ISIS. This is the idiot that shot up Old Dominion University. In that shooting, they ended up killing one. He ended up killing one and ended up being subdued by ROTC cadets. There were several that were wounded in this attack. And what the rumor is, it's...
Damn, he got subdued by ROTC cadets. That's kind of hilarious and funny.
Going around is the ROTC cadets ended up tackling him and stabbing him to death. It's kind of appalling to me that the press looked at this and said, well, how do you know that it was an act of terrorism? They killed the instructor, by the way. He killed the instructor. And the press actually asked the FBI, how do you know this was an act of terror? And God bless that FBI agent, because she just was like straight in the face, and she's like, listen, the dude just got out of jail in 2024 underneath Biden for freaking providing material support to ISIS. By the way,
yeah, I know, right? I mean, thinking about it, it's kind of funny if you think about it, right? Like, you know, the irony of it, he got unalived by ROTC cadets, yet he was also a former Army guy himself, right? He was a former soldier, so it's, you know, it's kind of ironic, you know, thinking about it.
He's also a naturalized citizen from, I believe it was Sierra Leone. And then was shouting Allah Akbar as he was killing people. So yeah, in my opinion, I think he's a raging pile of crap. The other guy from the temple shooting, which by the way, this isn't just your average temple. This is like the biggest temple in the United States of America. Has ties back to Lebanon. He's a Lebanese immigrant, naturalized citizen in the United States of America. There's photos that are flying around.
So for those of you that are just joining us right now, these are multiple attacks that are going on across the United States right now, just so you know.
Certainly suggest him and his family are all Hezbollah fighters and sympathize with them. Hezbollah has this version, pretty much like what the Hitler Youth had. It's pretty much equivalent to the Hitler Youth, where they're all like, they pawn it off as like a Boy Scout camp, but it's not. It looks like they all partook in it. From what I can find,
we seen this part earlier. Let's skip over real quick.
Family members that are there in that particular city that told me they trucked in ice cold bodies of protesters that they had killed to go hide them in the rubble. And what absolutely, in my opinion, is the icing on the cake for the entire thing, y'all told me to go check out Aussie Man Reviews, and I did. And boy, has he been crushing it. I want you guys to do your best to check out the date on this photo, August 13th, 2020, Iran-U.S. cyber threats from the Associated Press. Associated Press used the same picture.
By the way, Iran has been launching cyber threats across the United States right now. I know this from hearing Luke Thomas's live chat yesterday, right? One of his live chat members mentioned that one of his companies was under attack, so they had to like take the day off or something like that. So yeah, this is a real thing that's going on right now.
On March 13th, 2026, file, rescue workers and residents search through the rubble in the aftermath of a strike on a girls' elementary school in Manab, Iran. They had been repurposing photos, or the Iranian regime has been providing them photos about the...
Victory says, I heard they're going to attack the grid over here. Oh, man. Well, you know, I don't know how they're going to do that, honestly. I mean, you know, if there's one thing they're going to try and protect, it's probably that. But then again, you never know, man. You know, there's just a lot of budget cuts going on right now with DHS. Bad timing. There's a lot of budget cuts with, you know, the Coast Guard. That's bad timing. Or at least we think, right? Because remember, the art of war is to always make your opponent think that you're weak, right? Now, this is Donald Trump's America, though. We don't know if Donald Trump would actually, you know, really pretend to act weak, right? Not even as a strategy. Donald Trump doesn't strike me as somebody that would act weak, right? Like, for example, you know, if you're in the gym rolling with a guy and you know that you have more years on him on the mat you're like, hey, listen, take it easy on me, okay? But you know in your mind you could whoop this dude, you know, easily. It's like one of those things, you know, like, hey, take it easy on me, but, you know, you're the more experienced guy. He says, how can you protect it? Our grid is extremely vulnerable. That's what I'm saying, right? And then the security on top of that. Yeah, power stations are everywhere with little to no type of security, maybe a fence if we're lucky. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. But, well, here's the thing. This is the only hope that I can understand why, let's say, Iran would not attack the power grid, right? You see, if they're going to cause terror, they want to cause terror to the point where they want you to know about it. And if you know about it, then you will understand what is happening. Now, if you were to cut off the power, then the internet is gone, the TV is gone, and no one will know what happened. And as a result of that, it doesn't seem like something that they would necessarily want. Like, they kind of want you to know, right? Like these, like, you got to understand something about, you know, Islamic terrorism, right? Whether it's Sunni or Shia. They want you to know what they're doing so that you understand, and not only do you understand, you can also pressure your government into essentially helping them deter from, you know, whatever it is that they're doing, help the United States deter from going to Iran. Now that they're attacked, you know, now we're going to call on for the people, hey, listen, do something about this, pull out, right? Look at it like this, right? Even in the streets, the best way to really demoralize an enemy in the streets, right? Not necessarily going after their family, but making their family worried about the conflict. If their family is worried about the conflict enough, they'll be like, hey, listen, you know, stop messing with those Bloods or stop messing with those Crips on the other side of town. And, you know, next thing you know, they're going to be pressured into, you know, pulling out of this gang fight. Well, you know, militaries and terrorist organizations around the world sort of operate in the same, you know, mental warfare matter. Mike says, we love ICE. Of course you do. I mean, look at the first name. Look at your first name, Mike. You know, of course you love ICE. You know what I mean?
These strikes, they're actually...
You love untrained people that are, you know, non-proficient in what they do. I guess that's your thing, right? You like people that are, you know, mediocre at their job.
From Gaza. Matt Bordison says, I'm currently skeptical on the current U.S. administration and their truth-telling on this war. I'm not supportive of the war, but I show support for the show. Matt, I don't trust the administration either. I think you know that. I don't think they're telling the truth as to why we're actually there. I don't think they're telling the truth as to the full scope of U.S. operations and what we're going to be doing there. I don't think they were telling the truth when they said we completely and totally destroyed the chemical weapon sites that were over there. I just don't think they told the truth, period. And I think there's a lot of not truth-telling that's going around right now. I, however, do believe that the KC-135 Stratotanker that went down overneath Iraq was not shot down by the Iranian regime.
Before I start with an update, I also want to address the tragic loss of our KC-135.
An IQ of 85 to 115 is considered average in the U.S., and IQ of 115 to 145 is considered high, and an IQ 145 is considered genius. Are you curious to know where you stack up? You can take this 2-minute IQ test. That will give you detailed results on your IQ score and cognitive skills.
By the way, I attest that a lot.
In your thoughts in the...
By the way, I attest a lot of you would fail.
Coming hours and days. Our service members make an incredible sacrifice to go forward and do the things that the Navy...
I had my Bravo pouch this morning, and my freaking, like, you want to talk about, it'll get you going quick? Yeah. Live Animal says, what are the current level of U.S. air defense missiles? A few days back, they were saying the U.S. doesn't have missiles left to counter cheap Iranian drones. Yeah, so the cheap Iranian drone...
He says, yeah, I am an RAT, but I'm not a jihadi. Okay, so is that supposed to be like some sort of badge of honor that you're not a terrorist? Like, that's like saying, well, you know, at least I'm not, you know, a pedo. That's, you know, that's the bare minimum of decency that you can, look, it's, man, it's a know-nothing statement, Really? He says that, yeah, that's what makes you worse. Go look up the meaning of the word jihad. No, he knows and understands. We know and understand what the word of jihad means, right? It means internal struggle. Like me going to train, you know, is a jihad in and of itself. Well, train MMA, right? That's a jihad. Me, you know, having to pay the bills or, you know, or, financial, let's say, goals or something like that. That's, you know, a jihad. Like he knows and understands. Any person who, you know, can look up the word, yes, but, you know, what he means is obviously more of a pejorative term, you know, when he's talking about jihadi, right? Obviously a person that does not mean anyone in good faith, right? But, yeah.
Narrative, U.S. missile narrative, falls very, very short when I tell you that Iran's GDP is like $350 billion in 2025. Annual GDP for Iran, $350 billion. U.S. military budget is well over $900 billion now. It's going to push north of $1 trillion probably next year, but $900 billion is where the U.S. military budget sits at, and has for a very long time. We've like doubled the GDP just in our military budget for years now. Oh, do some more research now that I'm very, very clear. That video assessment I did is very, very clear. That was not a tomahawk. The detonation was not that of a tomahawk. That was not 1,000 pounds of U.S. explosives. Not even remotely close. Angle was all wrong. Wing placement was all wrong. Direction of approach was all wrong. Everything about that alleged strike from the United States of America was all wrong. And now you're upset because I have sources on the ground that are telling me that that school was destroyed beforehand and the regime was shipping in cold bodies of protesters they murdered, as if the Islamic Republic of Iran wouldn't do such a thing. They fund Hezbollah. They fund Hamas. They fund the Houthis. They fund Kataib Hezbollah. They sponsor the PMF, which Kataib Hezbollah falls underneath. And for some reason, you think for some reason, I'm wrong? Okay. You keep eating the regimes, you keep drinking their Kool-Aid. Andrew says all six.
Yeah, there's a lot of propaganda war going on here, right? Sometimes you just wonder who is right and who is wrong. You also have to remember, America also has a lot of propaganda going on as well, right? They're not going to report you about the CIA agents that were, you know, unalived overseas in these recent operations.
Firm now. Have worked on these aircraft for 20 years. Neither aircraft is capable of receiving fuel. Both are labeled as R models. There would be no reason for the two specific aircraft involved to be stacked. Just out of curiosity, man, if you're familiar with them, because I'm not. I'm trying to find an expert that can actually come on and talk about these things. My question for you, because I always get asked questions, so now, Andrew, I'd like to ask you a question. Is it possible, because I know they end up like putting those aircraft over there, that they were swapping out and they end up basically race tracking during refueling operations? Is it possible that when they showed up to start race tracking, the other one was still there? I'm just curious, and that because they were blacked out, they ended up smashing into each other. I would think that the United States has some sort of radar system that we only know about, that we can track the other aircraft just like we can track our own vehicles, and that there was a major issue there. I have no idea. No clue. No. Next thing that I'm going to end up putting up on the screen and showing you guys is the targets that are being struck over inside of Iran. These are ones that the Israeli government ended up releasing. This is a graphic they released just a little bit ago, but I wanted to put this up on the screen for you guys in particular. I went after an underground ballistic missile production and storage facility over near Shiraz. And the other interesting thing is that you have Central Command Center for the internal security force responsible for coordination between the unit's forces and the IRGC. It ended up getting hit over inside of Western Iran. And again, this is over near Kurdish territory. Ballistic missiles components production site was taken out as well. Lots of ongoing bombing up over inside of northern Iran, outside of Tehran. Seems like they're just hammering the crap out of it. I mean, just going to frickin' town on it. Uncle Krabby says, I gave up Kool-Aid for Bravo pouches. As you should have, man. I had my Bravo pouch this morning, and my frickin', like, you want to talk about, it'll get you going quick? Yeah. Live Animal says, what are the current level of U.S. air defense missiles? A few days back, they were saying U.S. doesn't have missiles left to counter cheap Iranian drones. Yeah, so the cheap Iranian drone narrative, U.S. missile narrative, falls very, very short when I tell you that Iran's GDP is like $350 billion in 2025. Annual GDP for Iran, $350 billion. U.S. military budget is well over $900 billion now. It's It's going to push north of $1 trillion probably next year, but $900 billion is where the U.S. military budget sits at, and has for a very long time.
Man, that's a lot, man. That is a lot, considering that, like, you know, we have all of these issues going on in the United States economically.
It's on the water and releasing unmanned surface vessels to attack civilian tankers. Not even you. Dehydrated and everything else. Well, I wouldn't let them in my house. Of course you wouldn't let them in your house. Are you going to take in refugees from Gaza? Are you going to take in Hamas members? Is that what you're going to do? 25% of that population, at a minimum, supports Hamas. Are you going to take them into your house? Show them your Bible. Tell them that Muhammad's a false prophet. Tell me how well that works out for you. And if you can't speak up and say that Muhammad's a false prophet, then you're not a true Christian. As a Christian...
Well, you know, I mean, you're not a true Christian either. I mean, look, I don't think you really, you know much about your religion. I think that, you know, you just speak from your own worldview, and, you know, that's all there is really to it.
Try to claim is not the Messiah. The one that they claim is just a prophet. But if I call Muhammad a false prophet, all of a sudden I got to lose my head, right? Yeah, go ahead. Take him into your house. Be a true Christian. Tell him what you actually think about the Prophet Muhammad. And then let me know. Wasn't it Jesus Christ that said...
But how do you speak for all Christians to say that? You know what I mean? Like, you can't speak for all Christians that, you know, feel that way. Not all Christians feel that way, Matt Tardito.
Attacking temples, attacking ROTC cadets, walking into schools with frickin' guns strapped to them, elementary schools. But here's the thing. I can tell Jewish people that Christ is the Messiah, and they don't try to cut my head off. They don't. And it's funny because I see it. Tell me what the Jews think about Christ. Okay. They don't believe in him. They don't believe that he's the Messiah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be Jewish. They'd be Christians. But they don't cut my head off. And I can walk through Old Jerusalem.
But, Christians and Jews have, I mean, Christians and Muslims have more in common than Jews, and that all is predicated on Jesus.
It's sad that people can't sit there and recognize that stuff. They worship Baal. The Iranians, the Muslims, sure. Synonymous says not only a false prophet, but a PDF file as well. Right. You don't marry a 6-year-old girl and then consummate your marriage at 9.
Ball Striker says the Bible says to call out all false religions and false prophets, not to unalive them. Well, you know, I mean, look, there's a lot of false doctrines that are in the Bible. You have to understand that the Bible was rewritten several times. And the reason why the Quran stands as the truth is because of the fact that it has never been changed, it has never been rewritten, and it has always been preserved in one language that you can easily translate to all other languages. And that is why people can memorize the Quran, you know, in ways that you can't memorize the Bible, because the original text is gone.
The U.S. aircraft were bombing all around them, and the guy was talking on the phone. That's this guy on the corner top on the right side of your screen with the microphone shoved in this freaking dude's face. And he's at it again, walking around with this guy, trying to pretend like they're all powerful. This guy on the right is going to be the new Mr. FAFO over inside of Iran. I have a feeling. That's what I'm going to start calling.
Yeah, false. The Quran has never been rewritten, and the way that it's structured and the way that the language and the structure is made, it is virtually impossible to do that. Okay, let me show you a video regarding that particular matter right there. Okay. Okay, so why the Quran has never been changed.
The Quran was put together. Zayd bin Thabit did a great job. And yet there were different versions that came out of it. And the third caliph
Always the primary source of preservation was the recital, the memorization. It was never the text written down. So you had many hundreds of people at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who memorized the entire Quran. Today you have many millions of people who memorize the entire Quran. And that link from these people today right back to the Prophet.
Yeah, Ball Striker, I'm going to just leave this right here.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we have multiple chains, multiple links in multiple parts of the world that all go back to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the same recital. Always the primary source of preservation was the recital, the memorization. It was never the text written down. So you had many hundreds of people at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who memorized the entire Quran. Today you have many millions of people who memorize the entire Quran, and that link from these people today right back to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we have multiple chains, multiple links in multiple parts of the world.
There you have it. There you have it, my man. There you have it.
The other day, as they were counting votes, and that they are just kind of running the regime however they see fit. Christian says our military strikes so far are great tactical success, but if we can't effectively reopen the strait and get a long-term regime change friendly to the U.S., then this will be a strategic failure. Well, it depends on what the U.S. strategy is. As I've long said, I do not believe that the United States strategy over inside of Iran has anything to do with the regime whatsoever. I mean, it does in getting rid of the regime, but more or less shutting the regime down to shut down Russia and to shut down China. If we cut off the regime, we cut off the financial arm for Russia, we cut off the military support for Russia, and as the strait is closed, which, again, how do you know that the U.S. didn't want the strait to be closed for a little while? Serious question. 40% of China's oil comes from the Strait of Hormuz. Passes through there. 40% of China's oil. And they've been waging financial warfare and economical warfare against the United States. If the actual global strategic objective was to remove Iran and to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, we're already at mission success. According to Walter Kurt, China has about 3 months' worth of oil in their strategic reserve. 40% of the oil is coming from the Strait of Hormuz, which is currently shut down. The Chinese economy is going to get crushed. It's going to get crushed. Without additional oil coming in from the Strait of Hormuz, or anywhere else for that matter, especially because we cut off Venezuela, which China was getting a lot of oil from Venezuela, especially since we cut that source of oil off from them, how well do you think the Chinese industrial complex is going right now? They're going to have to slow production. When they slow production, prices go up. And when prices go up and production is slowed, it hurts the Chinese economy, and Russia's got to pay more for everything they're getting. That puts a huge constraint on the Russian war efforts over inside of Ukraine, which Donald Trump made one of his primary concerns going into this. 3 months, that's what they got. And wouldn't you know it, according to the War Powers Act, Trump can go up for 3 months without any further excuse. He can just continue to bomb the crap out of Iran all he wants. So, yeah, China's hurting. It's my belief that there's a very good reason for it. Charles, what's up over in Australia, brother? What's up, what's up? My goodness. People act like we don't plan this out. We absolutely do. I promise you that the think tanks on think tanks had figured this out a long time ago, which is why now we're seeing these besieged forces get...
Okay, let me explain something, right? This is bad strategically for America. America is winning militarily, strategy-wise or not. The Arab Gulf states are pulling out of America. Not only that, they are also trying to go with China. China is offering them more peace, more negotiations with Iran. This is not good. Hate Love says, Joe, I love Iran. Let's stop the Western terrorist gang. Okay. Joe B says, I love Israel. We should give them more money. I think you're being sarcastic.
How effective do you really think the IRGC is right now? How effective do you really think?
I think it's irrelevant how effective they are, but rather the point that they are still attacking, okay, the Gulf countries and causing an economic strife is going to allow the U.S. to lose more influence, you know, in that part of the world. 86 of 47. I don't understand what that means. Exactly what do you mean by that, 86-47? Explain what the meaning is behind that. So
jump on his magic rug and start praying out on the streets with everybody else. Because if he separates himself from his civilian shields, he's going to die. So regardless of whatever it is that they're spitting out, I haven't seen a video of this guy walking around yesterday by himself, surrounded by civilians. And according to our military leadership, their leadership is all in hiding, either inside hospitals or inside tunnels or inside bunkers. Now, how long do you think that's going to last for them? How well do you think their communications are working, seeing how we're actively targeting it?
Iran has a lot of underground stations as well, and I think a lot of people are missing the point of that, right? There's a lot of underground stations that Iran has going on. So, yeah, I mean, they may get a few leaders here and there, but they can always replace new guys and, you know, hide a few guys as well.
And use explosive fishing boats. Well, their F-14s got taken out. I showed videos the other day of the F-14s getting freaking smashed. Absolutely made my day. Guys, remember how I was telling you guys that we had A-10 Warthogs that were over in the region? And we're like, why would we have A-10s? And if you don't think that all of this has been planned out ahead of time, this video right here is your confirmation that everything's been planned out. I'll explain it in a second. You hear that?
Burbiev, I don't know. Is that a confirmed news? Let me know on the comment section below if that's confirmed news, my man. You know, you're saying that Netanyahu got hurt. In what context, in what way did he get hurt? You're gonna have to let me know, you know, what's up with that. But that's interesting, though. Yeah, I did not hear that at all. So, yeah, let me know if that's what you heard.
That brrr sound that you hear, very distinct to the A-10 Warthogs. That is U.S. targeting PMF over inside of northern Iraq. Those are your Shiite frickin' militias that were backed by the Quds Force that were going after the frickin' Iranians. U.S. military is taking a huge fight to them. Kurds are taking a huge fight to them right now inside of northern Iraq. You want to pretend like the U.S. hasn't figured this out and that we don't know what's going on. Those A-10s have been staged over there.
No, the truth is, Matt, you don't know what's going on because you're not in the Trump administration. No one really is unless you really are in the Trump administration. So you can't really know. You're only projecting in what you think the military is doing based on your experience. Maybe you do have security clearance till this day, but at the same time, you know, you really don't know. You're only limited to what you know, just like the rest of us, you know. But he is very knowledgeable in his understanding of the world and his understanding of military tactics and military insertions and military affairs. But, you know, I'm sure there's a limited amount of information that he knows in terms of, you know, the capabilities of this war and the outcome and the positive outcome or the negative outcome that comes with it.
Proud American Access Thursday is for the boys. That's right, it sure is. Man Love Thursdays. That is the problem. People are too dumb to realize what it is that the United States is actually doing. Now, the United States government has been very open about some of the different issues that we have around the world. But what we haven't been open about is what exactly it is that we're doing in Iran, and nor should we be. We shouldn't be there.
And the problem is also that we're losing a lot of allies as a result of this because the Arab states are not being properly protected, which I think is going to create a massive effect. He says, what are your thoughts on the UFC White House, bro? Obviously, it's a great card. It's a card that would have been awesome in any part of the year. Unfortunately, it is mediocre in comparison to how they marketed it. So the expectation sort of downplayed the great card that it is. But you also have to understand, right? They can only sign certain fights based on who's available, based on who's not injured and based on who has the right contract to do so, and also, yeah, who has, who's a cheaper option at this point, right? Because they're not making any money out of the White House. Okay, they want to make it big, but they also need to make it cheap because they're not making any money out of it. You can't have an audience out there, and that's, yeah, the reality of the situation.
You guys hear all that gunfire going on at the same time, right? So not only do...
John Dong says, I'm fine with the card. If they did all title fights, what would they do for the rest of the year? That's what I'm saying, right? It would, yeah, I mean, they would just have a bunch of interim fights. But you got to remember, right? The UFC is one of those things where, you know what? It's not about, the big card coming up. It's about the big card coming up for the rest of the year. That's kind of how they structured the UFC, right? The UFC is structured in that kind of way. Victory says, what's up with Dana saying the card was finished months ago? That's Dana exaggerating as always, right? Never take everything that Dana says for face value, because even Dana himself doesn't totally believe in everything that he says, right? So, yeah.
Rice. Go eat your bananas and rice. That is the biggest lesson I think that we've learned. Is not to allow the politicians to get involved. What it should be is the President of the United States, Chairman of the Joint Chief, and probably a Secretary of State. Everybody's involved here looking and going, what is it that our global strategic objective needs to be when it goes down to the defense of the American people with the state of Iran? What do we need to accomplish? And then they take that objective and they give it to the military. And the military goes, okay, this is what we can do. And they present them with options to accomplish that objective. And then they execute those options, and the politicians stay the hell out of it. That's the best way to make this happen. Devin Seal says Congress and Senate Dems are getting on my nerves saying what's the battle plan. It's upsetting that most don't know how to operate in a field and conduct OPSEC. Thank you for all you do. Thank you very much, Devin. Tom Bone says you would have figured we'd have learned that after Vietnam, politicians lose wars, not soldiers. No, we didn't learn that. We didn't learn that after Vietnam. Going into the 80s, we learned that the military needs to be better organized. It needs to be allowed to do what it needs to do. That's when, SOCOM ended up coming out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
John Dong says, at Hate, also, what if they did all title fights and a bunch of them were boring as Khamzat and DDP? Yeah, that would have taken a long time. Yeah, I heard they were still confirming guys the week it was announced. Yeah, man, that's why I said Dana was just exaggerating the whole time.
We're paying off politicians to keep inflating the military-industrial complex. I don't think lobbyists should exist in the United States of America. I think they all need to go away.
Yet Matt is a strong supporter of Israel, yet he's saying that all lobbyists in the U.S. need to go.
So it can sell oil to anybody. The purpose is to neutralize the IRGC. And you say that. They did it so that they could supply oil to India, who is one of the founding BRICS members. And if you remember last year, there was a war that almost sparked between India and Pakistan around the same time that the United States opened up the Strait of Hormuz, which would have put a huge hurt on Iranian oil. Or I'm sorry, not on Iranian oil, on Russian oil. India, one of the biggest buyers of Russian oil. And if that war would have kicked off, India would have had a massive amount of oil supplies pouring in. The United States is trying to get India removed from BRICS and back over on our side. And so we have to have a delicate balance when it comes to this, when we look at it. And who gives a shit if Russia is selling more oil to them at this point? It's 30% of their GDP, 30, which is a huge chunk. But at the same time, the hurt that's going to end up getting put on China and the hurt that's going to end up getting put on the Russian military-industrial complex because Iran is taken out along with the money laundering and everything else.
Hey Love says, John, I'm Team Khamzat, but him and DDP made a squirm. 9, don't know what to call it. It hurts as a fan.
See. So you can continue to believe all of the RT talking points you want, but it doesn't change the facts. That's the same equivalent talking point as if saying that the U.S. is going to run out of interceptors because Iranian drones, which are currently down 95%, cost dirt cheap in comparison to our interceptors. That's the same silly style talking point. The overall objective and the overall impact is not going to change. Joey Watt says members only stream to get rid of all of them. Yeah, I mean, we could get, I'm assuming you said the trolls. We could do a members only stream. I don't mind doing those. I need to start doing those once a week. But when you start putting like dollars to donuts and calculating it all, sorry, man, I think that the odds are in favor that Russia's going to be hurt a heck of a lot more from what we're doing. And they'd especially be hurt a lot more if we end up getting India out of BRICS. Broger says Russia is indirectly responsible for GI deaths. That is a fact.
Intelligence believe the Iranians squirreled away what's left of their uranium into what's known as Pickaxe Mountain, a nearly impenetrable bunker buried deep in granite where evil scientists have been working around the clock, cobbling back together a program that was obliterated during Operation Midnight Hammer. The bunker busters might not be able to do the trick. Reports say special forces might have to be inserted to physically shut it down on the ground.
That sounds familiar. Devin Steele says, interesting that the Chinese media shills that unknowingly and knowingly work for the Chinese.
John Doe says, oh yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm a big Khamzat fan, but his fight with DDP was one of the worst main events of 2025. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could have named a few worse fights, maybe not title fights, but okay. Hate Love says, yeah, John, it was so awkward to watch DDP. It's an awkward fighter, but this was like a Team U fight. We still wanting for the original, a real fight. Exactly, yeah.
Now, by the time I get done with like producing a video, the freaking narrative has already adjusted and there's more information that's come out. It's old news because of how quickly information moves. Streaming is a must at this point in time if you want to stay relevant. And by the way, those Chinese bots are a huge freaking problem. Marine 54321. Ra. Coming to true supporter. Good to have you, brother. Yeah, they're hiding in the freaking mountains. They're shutting it down, and the rumor is that the U.S. is going to have to send in, special operations capabilities in order to shut those things down.
And the problem with that is going to cause a lot of deaths, right? I know that it's special forces, but special forces people, get unalived all the time, right? It's never a sure thing. Like, I know these guys are highly trained. It's the best military in the world, but at the same time, mistakes happen. And like I told you, right, if more mistakes end up happening, it's going to demoralize the faith of the people. As I told you guys in the streets, right? How to demoralize an enemy. You take it to them, not necessarily to their family, but to the point where, you know what? Their family members are going to look at this like, this is stupid, this gang war that you're getting into, right? And when you plant a little bit of that doubt in your enemy's, head, they're going to think twice about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And ultimately, it's going to demoralize their war efforts. It works the same thing in gangbanging as much as it works the same way in the streets. So that's the reality of it. I told you guys, I had an enemy in the streets one time, right? A Sacramento YouTuber, right? His wife ended up divorcing him because me and his beef got so bad, okay? It got so bad, she divorced him and left and moved back to Japan. That's how bad it got, okay? Now, that right there is extreme demoralization in war. So what I'm saying is that if the United States, has enough screaming women at them saying, hey, I don't like this war, I don't like where this is going, I'm going to leave, it's going to demoralize the United States. Just like what it did in Vietnam, just like what it did in Iraq, and just like what it did in Afghanistan. Those fights, those wars that the United States got into absolutely demoralized them. Due to the fact that it was nothing more than strong anti-war sentiments coming from, the United States, because they just couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't take that we were losing men, right? The minute you start losing men, that image, it really brings, a serious, mental F to a person's mind. Rap Mike says, having beef is haram, Kyrie. You are a Muslim by convenience. If you are going to call yourself a Muslim, at least be a man enough to follow the Quran. Do you even understand? Like, here's the thing, right? Obviously, I don't have to explain anything to you, but since you are kind enough to be an audience member of mine, what the least that I can do is at least, you know, kind of give you, you know, an answer to things, right? Let me tell you this. You don't understand the context behind this beef. You don't. And quite frankly, I don't necessarily have to really tell you about it, but what I can tell you is that, trust me, it was within the sanctions of, you know, self-defense. Okay, Mike? Let me just say that if this was you, you would probably put yourself in this same position as well in terms of, you know, to the best of your ability, how you would handle it and how you would handle this person. So I'm sorry that you find that to be haram, but you don't understand the context of it, and that's perfectly okay. Remember, you're the audience member, okay? I'm the guy telling the story, and I'm the guy that's actually living that life. In terms of the story that I'm telling you, you can only convey through your own worldview, through your own experience, through your own, yeah, man. It's literally just within your own, you know, worldview and your own experience that you just can't understand in comparison to me actually living it. That's the best way to put it. But I get what you're saying, right? You know, we all have to do better. We all have to, you know, basically, yeah, we all have to basically do what is best for us and our family. He says, Bonnie Blue is the next prophet of Islam. You Muslim lads better follow her. Yeah, okay. I mean, once again, you know, a pejorative statement that, you know, literally means almost nothing, but okay. All right, back to this.
Production. When they slow production, prices go up. And now you're upset because I have sources on the ground that are telling me that that school was destroyed beforehand and the regime was shipping in cold bodies of protesters they murdered. As if the Islamic Republic of Iran wouldn't do such a thing. They fund Hezbollah. They fund Hamas. They fund the Houthis. They fund Kataib Hezbollah. They sponsor the PMF, which Kataib Hezbollah falls underneath. And for some reason, you think for some reason, I'm wrong? Okay. You keep eating the regimes, you keep drinking their Kool-Aid. Andril says, all 6 confirmed now. Have worked on these aircraft for 20 years. Neither aircraft is capable of receiving fuel. Both are labeled as R models. There would be no reason for the 2 specific aircraft involved to be stacked. Just out of curiosity, man, if you're familiar with them, because I'm not, I'm trying to find an expert that can actually come on and talk about these things. My question for you, because I always get asked questions, so now, Andrew, I'd like to ask you a question. Is it possible, because I know they end up like putting those aircraft over there, that they were swapping out and they end up basically race tracking during refueling operations? Is it possible that when they showed up to start race tracking, the other one was still there? I'm just curious, and that because they were blacked out, they ended up smashing into each other. I would think that the United States has some sort of radar system that we only know about, that we can track the other aircraft just like we can track our own vehicles, and that there was a major issue there. I have no idea. No clue. None. Next thing that I'm going to end up putting up on the screen and showing you guys is the targets that are being struck over inside of Iran. These are ones that the Israeli government ended up releasing. This is a graphic they released just a little bit ago.
Let's get back right here. All right, are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Mic testing 1 2 1 2. Mic testing 1 2 1 2. Are we back? Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay. All right. So all right. More on this Iran thing right here, and then we're gonna get to, you know, a little bit of a breakdown of UFC 328 altogether. Okay. So just a little bit of this, and then we'll get right back to it.
For you guys in particular. I went after an underground ballistic missile production and storage facility over near Shiraz. And the other interesting thing is that you have Central Command Center for the Internal Security Force responsible for coordination between the unit's forces and the IRGC. Ended up getting hit over inside of Western Iran. And again, this is over near Kurdish territory. Ballistic missiles components production site was taken out as well. Lots of ongoing bombing up over inside of northern Iran, outside of Tehran. Seems like they're just hammering the crap out of it. I mean, just going to frickin' town on it. Uncle Krabby says, I gave up Kool-Aid for Bravo pouches. As you should have, man. I had my Bravo pouch this morning, and my freaking, like, you want to talk about, it'll get you going quick? Yeah. Live Animal says, what are the current level of U.S. air defense missiles? A few days back, they were saying the U.S. doesn't have missiles left to counter cheap Iranian drones. Yeah, so the cheap Iranian drone narrative, U.S. missile narrative, falls very, very short when I tell you that Iran's GDP is like $350 billion in 2025. Annual GDP for Iran, $350 billion. U.S. military budget is well over $900 billion now. It's going to push north of $1 trillion probably next year, but $900 billion is where the U.S. military budget sits at. And has for a very long time. We've like doubled the GDP just in our military budget for years now.
All right, and he's so proud of that, like as if those are taxpayers' money that's not, going anywhere. I mean, come on, man. That is not a flex whatsoever. That is not a flex whatsoever at all, right? Like you're basically saying that this is, what the U.S. military is spending, and it's like, Cole Owens says Iran is fighting for Muslims around the world. I don't know about that, man. They're fighting for the Shias. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say they're fighting for the Muslim world. So yeah, Mike Rat, I'm getting rid of your comment right there. So there we go. I'm getting rid of your comment. By the way, when we start doing just the full MMA breakdowns, I'm gonna get rid of you guys, right? Because you guys are gonna be a distraction. You're only allowed to come in here when there's a political topic going on. But when it comes to MMA, I'm getting you guys up out of here. He says, at Cole, you are right. Western terrorists killed their leader in cold blood and unalive children. This guy is talking BS. The school was not destroyed beforehand. Look it up.
Pause it right there so you guys can see it. There's currently 2 interceptors tracking this one drone, and 2 more that went off in a different direction.
Yeah, look, guys, I stand by the fact that Iran is fighting for the Shias, not for the whole Muslim world. But you guys can argue with me that on the chat if you wish.
Got put out by the frickin' Communist Party of Russia and RT, and frickin' the Iranian regime holds absolutely no water whatsoever. We have more than enough interceptors. We have more than enough bombs. That was the other thing they're trying to claim, is that we don't have enough bombs. It's just a flat out lie. Anybody that's telling you that is retarded, in my opinion. Yeah, that's right. I said the dirty R word. I apologize to anybody that takes offense to that. Daryl Syke, coming in gifting us Speak the Truth membership. Appreciate you. Lord Marcus says, would you like for me to go to Tinker in OKC and find some information on the C-135, Matt? Love the show. No, man, I don't think you need to do that. I think I just need to do some more research now that I'm alive and awake today, rehydrated and everything else. Crooked Mints says the friggin' direction of approach of the missile ends the argument. All of the other evidence that you provided is a huge FU to the mainstream media. Great friggin' work, sir. Well, thank you very much for that. Now, critics of that are trying to state that, well, it has lawyer capability. As if we're just going to have a frickin' cruise missile doing a bunch of circles over the target for absolutely no reason. No, we're not going to send a Tomahawk just circling around a freaking target over enemy territory on day 1 of the operation, waiting for it to get...
All right, let's hear what Nick Fuentes has to say about this, right? Because a lot of people don't like to admit that we're losing, and yeah, here's Nick Fuentes, as to why we are losing this war in America. Okay, here we go.
Rain-X water repellency wiper blades apply the magic of rain.
Pen. Crust is why we're losing. We're losing our country. We're losing our civilization. We have no sovereignty, and people are not taking it seriously. This is what it's all about, folks. Everything else is the dress rehearsal for this moment. Okay, this is when it matters. This is one of these dividing lines. It's not an exaggeration. Like COVID, like the Trump election in 2016, this is one of these dividing lines where this is definitive. This is everything. Where you stand on this issue tells me everything I need to know about you. And how hardcore are you? As far as I'm concerned, there's no excess of opposing this war. This is a war of choice. This is a war of aggression. This is an unwinnable war that nobody asked for. We were dragged into it. They admit it by Israel. We all knew it was coming. They were telling us, well, at least you should have known. I told you. But that doesn't matter now. What matters now is what you do now. What matters now is, are you going to speak out against it? Are you going to use your platform? Are you going to be a...
I'll tell you what, right? I could understand why a lot of conservatives don't like Nick Fuentes, right? Because what Nick Fuentes offers, right? And don't get me wrong, I have my own reservations of opinions on Nick Fuentes, right? But what I will say about Nick Fuentes is what he has going on is sort of like this alternative right-wing movement going on, right? In other words, what he is trying to convey to you guys are the flaws of the Trump administration and the flaws of the MAGA party, to which many diehard fans of Trump just will not, accept to any degree. Now, there's multiple reasons as to why that is. I think one of the main reasons why they will never accept, Nick Fuentes is because he speaks the truth towards their delusion.
Part of this machine? Are you going to be a part of the problem? It's a time for choosing. So anyway, that's that. I do want to move on. I want to get into where we are in this war, which, like I said, I'm absolutely against. I don't even want to fight with Professor Zhang. Honestly, he called me out. I want to know his problem with me. I don't want to fight with him. If Zhang and Candace and Tucker and everybody are against the war, I am with them. That is what counts right now. We can have our personal beef and other...
And rightfully so, you should be against this war for multitudes of reasons.
...stuff after the fact. What matters is Americans are dying, schools are being blown up, the government is lying to us. That's what matters. Anyway, we're going to get into it. Our featured story is about this actual war, and we'll talk about where we are. Now...
Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get this thing cracking.
Ways the situation has not changed from last week. The war is unfolding exactly as we knew it would. Exactly according to plan. As we talked about at the very beginning, it was a strategic imperative for the White House, for the United States, and Israel for that matter, to go into Iran, quickly and decisively win, and decisively means topple the government, not just kill its leaders, but collapse the government, create an unstable situation, a civil war, a revolution, an uprising, regime change, and then leave. That is how we have to fight this war. That is how we have to win it, if we're going to. Now, we have entered day 10, and victory is nowhere in sight. We have not toppled the government. We haven't won. And maybe the biggest problem is that we have not been able to suppress Iran's ability to counterattack using its missiles.
Yeah, and the biggest problem for me is that we lost 7 fellow Americans. We wasted billions of dollars. I don't even want to know how much money. Meanwhile, they have free healthcare in Israel. Meanwhile, they're fighting with our weapons. The people in the United...
And now you see why people are upset at Israel right now because of what he just said right here.
States, they are struggling. Everything is becoming more expensive every day. We don't have money for our own people, but we do have money to bomb other countries. This is my problem. This is the reason why I don't support this stupid war. We should have never ever started this war. Like seriously, Iran don't even have a problem with us. They literally hate us because we sponsored their biggest enemy, Israel. And Why are we fighting a war on behalf of another country? This is useless. This is such a waste of money. This is such a waste of American lives. We lost already 7 fellow Americans. God bless them. For what? For nothing. They should fight their own wars. We should stop this war.
And so what has happened over the past 10 days is that the United States is getting gassed. It's a little rope-a-dope. The United States has the vastly superior technology. Our ammunition and our weapons are more precise.
That's true.
More efficient.
That's true.
We have far more intelligence.
That's true.
And we are using a strategy called multi-domain operations. And that means that in the early days of the war, which initially, if you recall, they said the war would only last 4 days. In those opening days of the war, it appeared very one-sided and that the United States was winning because we unloaded and we unleashed, and using every domain of modern warfare, which is space, cyber, air, naval, ground, everything that we have, we marshaled all of it, and using intelligence, combining insights and data, we were able to seriously degrade Iran's weapons systems, their ability to defend themselves, their air force, their navy, missile launch platforms, regime targets, regime members. In a word, we unloaded, we unleashed on Iran in those opening days. And in order for us to win, that would have had to have been sufficient to destroy the government, meaning that someone in the government would surrender, or seeing that the government was paralyzed or disabled, the people would rise up and overthrow the government. After that first phase of the war was completed, Iran emerged on the other side, not unharmed, certainly diminished and degraded. However, 2 things had changed. One, morale went up. We unloaded on Iran. We martyred the supreme leader of their country. We actually dropped a Tomahawk missile on a school, killing 130 children. And by attacking Iran and creating these apocalyptic scenes of destruction and chaos, what we did, and this is what always happens, is we rallied the people of Iran to support their government. It only makes common sense.
Yeah, that right there was a huge miscalculation on the part of the U.S., right? We would think that this would somehow make the Iranians revolt against their government. It only made them stronger, right? Because even though there were people in Iran that oppose their current regime right now, what a lot of people miscalculated was that there were people that really mistrust and hate the United States even more. He says, any enemy of Israel is my friend. Well, I understand that, but I feel like the world is a lot more complicated than that, right? I understand the term, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but my friend, I gotta tell you, the world is a lot more complicated than that, and this is coming from somebody that has a great deal of understanding of the Sunni Muslim world.
If China killed the president and then bombed every city from coast to coast, do you think we would then greet Chinese soldiers as liberators, or would we rally behind whoever the successor would be against the foreign attack to repel the invasion? Obviously, it would be the latter. So now that the smoke has cleared, the United States and Israel hit Iran with everything that we had. We sunk their navy, destroyed their air force, their anti-aircraft systems. We have some of...
But the fight isn't over yet. Yes, the Air Force, the Navy of Iran was sunk, but the fight is far from over.
Effective control over their airspace. Not complete operational control, but maybe in half of the country. Assassinated half of the military and civilian leadership. The smoke is cleared. We hit them with the worst. And now the Iranian people have rallied. And the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the actual regime, has also rallied. Arguably, the people that are now in charge are more hardline than the people that came before. They're more obstinate. The second thing to change is that Iran's ability to counterattack has not been completely suppressed or destroyed. Now, Iran, as we have talked about, is a huge country. It's 3 times the size of Iraq, mountains and desert, huge population of 90 million people. The population is dispersed across many large cities, and they have been preparing for this war for decades. So they have transformed their country into effectively a...
Well, what do you mean by that question? Pardon my ignorance, but what's it military like? What's end military like? Yeah, you're going to have to elaborate what you mean by that. I think, are you asking what it's like to be in the military? Or, yeah, what is, yeah, just, further elaborate. Oh, okay, pardon my ignorance, but what's Iran's military like? Okay, so Iran's military is probably one of the strongest in the whole Middle Eastern region, right? You also have to remember, manpower-wise, okay? Let's talk manpower. Let's not talk about like weapons or, bombs or anything like that, because straight out the United States beats everybody in that, right? Iran is not even close to the United States in that, but I need you to keep in mind, you follow wrestling, right? Name some of the countries that are top in wrestling. There's America, there's Russia, and then what's the third one? Japan? Maybe, but Iran is right up there. It's always America, Russia, and Iran. Kurt Angle fought against an Iranian in the Olympics, if you remember. Remember the famous words, I won the gold medal Olympics with a broken freaking neck, huh? And that was against an Iranian guy, right? Sajulayev, the Russian wrestler that Khabib trains with, and he also trains with Khamzat. He's fought a lot of Iranians. Kyle Dake has fought a lot of Iranians. Jordan Burroughs has fought a lot of Iranians, right? Name any top American star in wrestling, any top Russian star in wrestling. They've all fought Iranians, right? Including Kurt Angle, right? So, not just that, they are also big in Taekwondo. They are also, they medal a lot in Taekwondo. They medal a lot in Judo. They also medal a lot in powerlifting, right? So they are, a hyper-masculine culture, and they express it through the world of Olympics. So you got to understand that translates over into the military. I always believe that if a group of people do great in the Olympics, that's going to translate well into the military as well, right? So keep in mind, they have manpower, right? Not only that, they may be Shia, but just like the Sunnis, they have a martyrdom culture. Just like how they have suicide bombers in Hamas, just like how they have suicide bombers in Al-Qaeda, in Daesh, also known in Arabic as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. They also have suicide bombers, just like the Sunnis in Yemen. I say that to say this: they have a proficient military, okay, one that can match anyone with technology. And if they can't match you with technology, guess what they're going to match you with? Martyrdom operations. So you're dealing with a sophisticated military force, okay, that has all the tactics, all the Western standards of military equipment, along with Russian weapons as well. And then you add that to martyrdom operations. Okay, if all else fails. This is a very dangerous military to fight. There is a reason why plenty of presidents before decided to never take this fight with Iran. There is a good reason why, and this is why Nick Fuentes is saying exactly this. Shout out to Connor Sillers, BJJ. Shout out to you, my man. I was there with you in, Giuliano's live chat yesterday. Here you are again, my man. Shout out to you and everybody in San Diego. West Coast in the house right here. Ireland and West Coast in the house. When I cut that little promo on my shorts, right? When I said that I got people from, San Diego to Ireland, that'll get at you. You are that guy that I had in mind when I said that. You know what I mean? So, not only do I have, some Bloods and Crips and some essays and Asians on my side, I got Connor Sillers on my side. I got Marty Miller in Ohio on my side. And, You know, and that's what you're gonna get if you want war with me, brother. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with a real race whisperer, because not only am I going to destroy you, you know, with a group of people that you would have never expected, but I'm also going to destroy you with another group of people that you would have never even expected in your mind. You know, race whisperer 101 right there. You know what I'm saying? I got the athleticism of a black man, a serial killer mindset of a white boy, and I got nothing but war in my blood because I come from Libya, the same place that strapped up the IRA to fight the British Empire. Allahu Akbar.
Missile and drone factory inside of a fortress. That is what they do. They make ballistic missiles and drones, and they make a lot of them, and cheaply, and they make them deep underground so you can't hit them. And these missiles are very mobile as well. So the United States unloaded everything, rallied the government, not destroying it, and the United States did not destroy all of the missiles. So what does that mean? Well, it means that on day 10, even though the United States and Israel have hit Iran 3,000 times and spent, I think it's $3 billion per day.
Yeah, Outback Sober, I do. You ever seen my jumping ability, you'll understand exactly what I mean when I say that. You know what I mean? If you've seen my workout videos and this and that, but I'm not here to show you any of my workout videos. I got live stream upon live stream to do that. Go watch that at your own time if you don't believe me.
So far, Iran is still able to launch missiles without being able to be stopped.
Yes, of course, because they will try to do everything to defend their own country, obviously. Like, we would do exactly the same if we were in that position. At least I hope so. And for this reason,
Hey, and you know what, man? He's exactly right about that. Look, they said that the Iranians were going to come here, right? If the Iranians were going to come here, man, I got my own security forces right here in Sacramento, right here in California to deal with all of that. I'd arm up all the homies. You know, we'd, take position at a certain building and, and rain havoc on the Iranian forces that are coming in here. We would absolutely do that. I would have a group of ex-military guys. I would have a group of Sunni Muslims. I would have a group of gangbangers. I would have all types of people on my side if Iran ever came here. And you know what? There's a reason why Iran doesn't come here to do that, right? It's a very dangerous mission for them to attempt to do something like that. Very dangerous, right? America is too armed. On top of that, the shores that we have going on, right? Even if the Coast Guard or DHS is, under low budget right now, right? We still have citizens with a lot of guns, right? We got a lot of rednecks, gangbangers, and regular people strapped up to the max up in here. That's what you're going to deal with when you come and invade the USA. Now, look, I'm not for this war in Iran. But at the same time, man, I would hate for the Iranians to come here and disrupt our life in any kind of way. I would absolutely go all out against the Iranians if they were ever to come here. And guess what? The Iranians are just doing the same thing on their side of the world right now. So
I believe they have all the rights to defend themselves. But what is more crazy to me is that this war cost us $3 billion per day, guys. Did you hear that? That's actually...
Okay, $3 billion per day. Oh, I want you guys to keep that in mind. $3 billion per day.
Insane, right? So next time when the government is telling you that they don't have any money for you, the taxpayer, but they do have $3 billion to bomb other countries. This is ridiculous, right? They cannot solve the roads here. They cannot build hospitals here. They don't have money for the Americans, but they do have a lot of money for all this nonsense, for fighting a war on behalf of another country. Then they can just spend $3 billion per day like it's nothing. No one supports this. Meanwhile, we, the people of the United States, we have to pay for this. Like, all this money is from us, taxpayer money, and they cannot give it back to us for the people who work for this, but they can spend this on bombing other countries, fighting wars on behalf of another country, and then they are surprised that people, they are so upset about this, they are so mad about this. What is going on, guys? Wake up. If you still support this administration, you should literally maybe pinch yourself and ask if you're not sleeping or something, because this is not okay. This is not okay. At least for me, I will talk for myself. I don't support this. This is ridiculous. This money we could have spent this money in our own people, in our own country. Instead of creating problems in another country, we could solve problems in our own country. But again, this America First government chose to do this. It's ridiculous.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed friends around the world to voice their support in her struggle for peace and security, especially as terrorists seek to wipe the Jewish state and the Jewish people from the map. You can show your solidarity with Israel and the Jewish people by requesting your free U.S.-Israel flag pin. This is a gift from the fellowship to you as we say Toda Rabbah. Thank you so much for helping spread the crucial message of support. Join the thousands of Christian supporters and wear it proudly everywhere you go to show your unwavering support for Israel and the Jewish people.
This is why I canceled my DoorDash subscription and switched to Cooking. After months spending way too much on DoorDash, I got bored of eating the same fast food meals and paying way too much for them. Community offers over 300 weekly meal options offered by over 80 celebrity chefs, straight to your door, fresh, never frozen. Not only that, but these meals literally taste amazing. It's actually like you're eating at a restaurant or order DoorDash, except it's way cheaper. So far, I'm loving Mark Forgiani's red wine short ribs, Esther Choi's glazed flank steak with udon noodles, and Jose Garza's braised short ribs, mac and cheese. It's literally like having a team of personal chefs cooking for you every week. I can use it to calorie count or follow any diet like keto, vegan, pescatarian, carnivore, or any cuisine such as Asian, Mediterranean, Mexican, and so many others. The variety of delicious meals make it so you never get bored eating the same thing over and over. They're giving you 50% off your first week, so meals come out to less than $6. The deal may end soon, so now is the time to give them a try and taste the difference for yourself. If you want to eat better for less, try Cooking today for 50% off.
And those missiles are hitting the Gulf countries. Those missiles and drones are hitting Bahrain and Qatar and the Emirates. And drones and missiles and projectiles from Yemen are hitting Saudi's eastern province where they have all their oil. Desalination plants are being hit. Other critical infrastructures being hit. And maybe most importantly, the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow passage which unlocks all of the Persian Gulf oil. That is from where the Persian Gulf oil is shipped into the Indian Ocean and out to the rest of the world. So all that oil in Saudi Arabia, in Iran, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in the Emirates, all these oil-rich sheikdoms and kingdoms, you know, we identify the Middle East with oil. It all comes from the Persian Gulf, and it all is transited by sea out the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran is strangling by bombing it relentlessly. And so the commercial traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has been reduced by 80%. Consequently, that is 20% of the world's oil supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Global energy supplies are now severely constrained. So why did the United States need to topple Iran's government quickly and decisively in the first week? Because if the government isn't toppled or doesn't wave the white flag, and if the government is still able to launch missiles, in other words, if the regime and its missile arsenal is intact, then that means that indefinitely Iran can shut down the Middle East. They can shut down all the oil, and they can shut down the Gulf. People can't fly in and out of these countries, which specialize in banking and tourism, things that are heavily dependent on people being able to enter and exit the airspace. And the oil is shut down, which is now affecting every country in the world. It's affecting gas prices here. It's affecting energy supplies in Japan, LNG in Europe, in China, all around the world. And so now, this is transitioning into a war of attrition, where the United States is dropping lots of ordnance on Iran, hoping that we kill enough people and we destroy all their missiles. Well, at the same time, Iran is trying to stay alive and retaliate enough in a race against time. And if the United States can collapse their regime or destroy all their weapon systems, then we have prevailed. If we don't do that in time, and Iran is able to keep replacing and keep succeeding the leadership, and if they can keep launching missiles, then that means that oil prices are going to keep going up. There's going to be a global recession. And that means the fertilizer that comes out of the Gulf is going to get choked off too. Copper, uranium, other critical minerals, tourism, investment, capital pouring into the Gulf, that's going to be shut down too. And so Iran is going to make it hurt for everybody. This is the situation that we now find ourselves in. And this was prophesied, by the way. The generals in Washington warned Trump for months that this is exactly what was going to happen. There was a report in Washington Post and Politico a week before the war started saying that the generals were not on board, that they had warned Trump. There's no way to topple the regime. It's impossible. If there was an opportunity in January because of the protests, if that was the case, that window of opportunity is now closed, and there is no way we can collapse the regime. And if we can't collapse the regime through air power and sea power, then you're going to get a war of attrition. And a war of attrition is a war that you cannot win. It's unlikely that you can kill all 200,000 IRGC from the air. Probably impossible. It's unlikely you can destroy all of Iran's missiles from the air. Once again, probably impossible. And you can't bring down the government and make them surrender. So if that's the case, then we get into this grinding war, and eventually we run out of missile interceptors. Our bombs are more costly, and we're going to run out of them. And our economy is going to start to hurt just as bad and then worse as Iran's economy.
Exactly. And for this reason, I wouldn't be surprised, and of course, I hope I am wrong on this, but I would.
All right, so here's the thing, right? That part right there that he just said, right? It is going to hurt both of the U.S. and the Iranian economy. You know who's not going to care? You know who's not going to care? Iran. They won't care. The reason why they won't care is because, as I told you, right, when I was answering Marty earlier about what he said, about what he asked about the Iranian military, I said one of their prominent features is that they are a martyrdom culture, okay? Do you think that a martyrdom culture is going to care about their economy? Or do you think that the West, us, being that we care about materialism, even the Arab world, okay? They are a Sunni Muslim country, but they care about materialism. Look at the world that the UAE has built. They're already feeling the pressure with bombs being dropped on them. So, let's see here. Yeah, Connor Ben says, yeah, they have very good wrestlers. Connor Ben says, yeah, I saw that, brother. He says, that's disgusting. I'm going to be sick. Same, bro. Ew, this scum. He says, do they have fighter jets? They do. They have fighter jets. In fact, one of the deceptions that they had done was that they had created this, fake blown up fighter jet, right? Or they would, tag up the floor, right, and paint it with, fighter jets, like fake fighter jets, and then the U.S. would waste bombs on them, which is, kind of crazy.
Wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump is gonna put boots on the ground in Iran.
By the way, guys, stay tuned. We're going to do an early prediction for UFC 328 on this one. I know we're skipping over 327, but this is just an early prediction. Kind of give you guys my take on each and every single fight, and we'll see how that goes.
For this main reason, because we cannot bomb them into a regime change. That's not gonna work. You can kill, for example, Khamenei, but then you just have his son. If you kill his son, you just have another guy, and if you kill that guy, you have another guy. So you need to put boots on the ground if you actually want to do a regime change. And for this reason, I really believe, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is gonna happen. You have to watch my previous video I made today about Candace Owens. She literally talks about the fact that in Israel, they are already talking about that they will that they are thinking about putting boots on the ground. And this is nuts. This is nuts. If we are gonna put...
I'm going to tell you right now, the minute they start putting boots on the ground, this is going to be very unpopular for the United States, okay? Because look, I know better than anyone what the U.S. military is capable of, right? You guys know. You guys have been told this, for years in your schools and, in the history books. The whole world can tell you, right? We have the strongest military in the world, not just with technology, but, you know, we do have some, you know, serious badasses, not only in our infantry groups, not only in our special forces, but, you know, also in our intelligence apparatus, right? Fresh Melon Juice could tell you that, being that he's, you know, a 6'8" CIA agent, you know, as he likes to claim, right? Just like Emily likes to claim that her family owns 2 hotels in, you know, in Oregon and in Washington. And by the way, listen, I just wanted to say this, right? Yesterday, I want to emphasize this. The lies that were drawn up yesterday was absolutely horrendous, right? The lies that were drawn up. First of all, think about the lie. This is the reason why I allowed, you know, this thing, okay, to talk. Because you know what it is? Interrogation 101, right? You allow somebody to talk long enough, they start spilling the beans, okay? And then on top of that, you emotionally string them along, they start really revealing themselves, right? But then again, this is easy. This is somebody who's a 21-year-old, and, you know, let's not even, you know, mention the gender that goes along with it, because, you know, that particular gender isn't really that, you know, smart when it comes to, you know, understanding emotional intelligence, right? So, of course, you're going to easily draw them in. So it goes like this, right? Mentions that, oh, well, I'm at work right now while I'm arguing with you. Okay, but then in the next text, they go and they mention, oh, well, you know, such and such, you know, you said this, and then, you know, next thing you know, oh, my parents own hotels in 2 different states. So not only you gave out your location, you gave out your last name, you gave out, you know, where your parents own, you know, places from. You're in the West Coast, right? I mean, just a whole bunch of things that, you know, I would not, you know, divulge to an enemy, right? There's just certain things that you don't divulge to an enemy, and, you know, this is not a person that, you know, is really that bright in the head, you know? So, you know, obviously, this is a person that's highly emotional. On top of that, this is a person that went and attacked a minor kid, right? Indicative of what I just showed you, right? I mean, do I got to, oh my goodness, man. I think I got to show you guys again, right? Take a look at this post right here, okay? Attacking a kid, mind you, okay? Attacking a kid. This is like, first of all, this is a 12-year-old kid, okay? Like, at least, you know, not even a teenager, right? This is what she says to a kid. Says, you know, I'm sure your father's disappointed at you, blah, 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 blah. You know, and then when you look at this kid, okay, this is, by the way, this person right here only has, like, what, 12 subscribers? Literally 12 subscribers, right? This person has close to 100. So this is a person, you know, that punches up. Obviously, she sees, you know, this channel, and it's like, wow, okay, close to 2,000, subscribers. Okay, this is a person that I gotta go after. So that's that. That'll be the last of what I will mention. That maybe not. Maybe if I feel like I'm gonna have more fun with it, I will.
In the ground in Iran, it's over. It's over. There's not one family I know, or in the United States of America, who want to send their son or their children to this stupid war. No one. So boots on the ground is gonna be the end of this administration, if this war was not already the end of this administration.
And also, you gotta understand, there's a high probability that Donald Trump could get impeached by this, right? You get a Democrat government in office, you know they're gonna press on Donald Trump. There's no doubt about it. They will press on him.
But seriously, if that's gonna happen, that's insane. If they're gonna put boots on the ground in Iran, and for this reason, again, I can repeat myself, but they cannot just bomb them into regime change. That's not gonna work. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in 1 week they're gonna put boots on the ground. Maybe some special forces or something. I'm not saying that they're gonna send, of course, the whole military over there, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is gonna happen. But I hope I'm wrong on this. But this is actually crazy that we are already talking about this now. That means already that this is probably gonna happen.
If you're a producer who hates AI, this plugin might change your mind. This is reimagining co-producer. You can take...
Now that brings us to where we are today. And it's interesting because the markets are spooked. Over the weekend, crude oil was trading for $120 a barrel, up from, I think, 60. So global energy prices have exploded because of the conflict. Because again, the supply is very constrained because a fifth of it is stuck in the Persian Gulf. It can't get out because Iran is bombing it. And so now the United States and our allies are starting to feel it. Japan is starting to feel it. Europe is starting to feel it. The Gulf countries are starting to feel it, and they're getting worried. They're getting worried because their oil is stuck and their tanks are filling up. Their reserves of oil are filling up. They're going to have to cut production, which is very costly. And they're worried because their critical infrastructure is being hit too. And so now the pressure is back on the United States. Now, what does Trump do? Well, you have two options. You can look for an off-ramp and try to de-escalate. What does that look like? If we retreat, if we have a truce, a ceasefire, if we stop bombing Iran, maybe they will let us have the oil go through the Strait of Hormuz and we could have economic relief. And that's critical. Because if we don't get that oil flowing sooner rather than later, you're going to have a global recession in a few weeks. It's going to get really bad.
And the people who are going to feel it the most are the ones that are in the gas pump who, kind of conserve, like, that one homie that, kind of spends $5 here and there on their gas tank. Hey, you got $5 on some gas money, like one of those types of people, right? Rather than just, filling up their gas tank like an adult, right? They kind of like, hey, give me a dub for, this gasoline, bro. Like one of them type of peoples, right? They're going to feel it, okay? Now, the people that are a little bit financially stable, that, will just, mindlessly put their card in, in the tank and, and then just get it running, they're not really going to feel it. But it's always the underclass of people that are going to feel it the most when it comes to, situations like this.
So option one is you try to find an off-ramp, try to find an exit and de-escalate. If we stop dropping bombs on Iran, and I don't know how you walk that one back, but let's say you do, and then you count on Iran stopping their closure of the Strait of Hormuz, then you can open that back up and you're in good shape. The only other option is that you go in the other direction. Rather than looking for an exit, you escalate. You hit them somehow even harder. And what would be the end game there? Well, if you topple the government, then there is no command and control to order the closure of the strait.
Which means that you are going to have chaos ensuing, as a result of that. So,
right. You get a regime change, you get a change in policy, you open up the strait. Or two, you send in boots on the ground. And you send in some limited tactical force to disable Iran's missile launchers or to attack the nodes of government or something like this in a bid to try to prevent them from launching the missiles. Maybe you organize on the ground. You get the Kurds. You get an anti-government force and you try to overthrow the government. But these are really the two lanes here. Is the war going to keep going on and on? Will it keep grinding on and we keep killing their leadership and we keep bombing them? And it's more pain and misery for them and acutely for their leadership until they wave that white flag? Or are we going to back away in what would be a strategic defeat for the United States and a victory for Iran in the hopes that they stop bombing the strait? Those are the two options.
Or what do you think about option C? We send our troops back home, we stop wasting billions of dollars and American lives over there, and we can focus on our own country because this is what the people of this country voted for. Mr. Donald Trump said we're gonna put America first. All right, we are still waiting. We are still waiting as well for our golden age. We are still waiting for the are you tired of winning? We are tired of losing, and this war is just another example of how our country is losing. I don't see this as winning. This is not good. We should stop this, send our troops back home, send our ships back home, invest all this money.
Now, here's the problem with that, right? If Donald Trump was to do that, it would make the United States look like a bunch of cowards, and I don't think that's I don't think that's the goal that people necessarily want, right? They don't want to look like cowards. Especially not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a very hard-headed individual. He is absolutely going to, have reservations on this, right? Right. Like, imagine that, right? Making Donald Trump tap out. That's kind of how he's seeing that. So,
your own country, in our own people. Stop fighting these stupid wars on behalf of another country. Yeah, if you agree with me, please put an option C in the comments. I'm very curious if people, they just want this to happen.
Now, what was Trump's plan here exactly? So Trump goes into the conflict.
To be honest with you, Trump had no plan. What Trump did was just act out of his own emotions and just decide, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. He acted out of his own emotions, and not only that, he acted out of the orders of you-know-who.
And we sort of,
the group of people that are one step more powerful than Trump.
At this point, understand what the idea was, which is that Netanyahu was going to bomb Iran anyway, so they say. So we had to join them. Because if we didn't, then Iran would retaliate and they would hit us harder than they would otherwise be able to be if we and Israel struck them jointly first. So we hit Iran, hoping that if we just hit them hard enough, everyone is telling us it's impossible, everyone is telling us it's impractical, but if we hit them hard enough, we're going to knock them off, and with the hope and a prayer, that'll be the end of it, and then we win. And then it's just like Venezuela, and no harm, no foul, it's a big victory, everything's great.
Imagine being able to build...
What was plan B exactly? What's plan B?
Do you think Trump is the kind of person that has plan A, plan B, etc., etc.? No, this is not a guy to do that. All right, guys, 2 more minutes, and we're going to go right into the 328 prediction.
Telling Trump this isn't going to work. Everyone's telling him it's impossible. It's not going to go the way you think. So what's the backup plan? Let's say your gamble doesn't pay off. Then what do? Well, we're finding out that they have no idea. They don't even know. They didn't prepare for this. Because now they're not even giving us a clear answer. Okay, we tried it. It didn't work. Now there's some real problems here. There is a global recession on the horizon, and it's coming closer every single day. Oil prices are exploding. We're running out of interceptors. So are the Gulf countries. If we run out of interceptors, then Iran is just going to keep throwing drones at us, keep throwing missiles at us. It never ends.
I'm going to tell you in exactly 1 minute, okay? Ariane, let me know what part of the world you are from. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to give you my official prediction right now. I'm going to put this on the I'm going to put this on the timestamp right here. So we are about 3 hours and 10 minutes into the stream, okay? Okay, so early predictions, 3 hours and 10 minutes, okay? So let's get right to it right now, man. Forget Nick Fuentes right now, good ideas, but yeah, let's get right to it right now. UFC 328, all right, here we go. First fight of the evening. So there it is. We got Sean Strickland taking on Khamzat Chimaev, right? A long time coming, right? This is a fight that's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to see this fight for a long time. A lot of you have been wanting to see this fight for a long time. But guess what? Sean Strickland has also wanted to see this fight for a long time. Khamzat has wanted to see this fight for a long time. And let me tell you, this fight is going to be absolutely bananas when it comes to the press conference. The press conference on this one is going to be absolutely insane. These two guys, they're going to smash at each other. They're going to hit each other with some low blows. You know that Sean Strickland is going to say anti-Islamic stuff. You know that Khamzat is going to call him a white boy. He's going to call him all types of things, racially derogatory terms, right? This fight right here really just brings the dividing lines of people, right? And then on top of that, he's going to call him the T word. He's going to call him a terrorist. He's going to call out Ramzan Kadyrov. He's saying, why are you friends with this guy? This and that, yada, yada. And it's going to make a really interesting fight. Now, with that said, that is the marketability aspect of the fight. But what about the reality of the fight? Well, what exactly do I mean by the reality of this fight? Well, the reality of this fight is as follows. Sean Strickland has never really been tested on the wrestling side of things, right? Khamzat Chimaev has absolutely been tested with wrestling, you know, over and over again, right? He also trains with Sadulayev, the heavyweight championship Olympic wrestler from Chechnya, right? He's trained with this guy before. So he knows what it's like to be in there with top high-level wrestlers. I could see this fight becoming a rinse and repeat over and over again, right? That's what I see. I see Khamzat taking him down. I see Khamzat bringing him back up. After Khamzat takes him down, he brings him back down again and again and again. Do not be surprised if Khamzat also comes out with, I hate to say it, a decision win on this one. And a lot of people are going to call him boring, but this is a very dangerous fighter in Sean Strickland, right? Very dangerous fighter. Now, Fluffy Hernandez was not able to take down Sean Strickland as we thought he would. He wasn't able to take him down. But guess what? Khamzat is in a completely different level. Way completely different level of wrestling. As a result of that, yeah, I think he's going to take him down over and over and over again. And I hate to say it, but I would love to see Khamzat get a win. But I think Sean Strickland he's far better than we thought. Okay, he is. He's very good. No lie. He's got a hard chin. Unless, of course, you're Alex Pereira. I highly doubt Khamzat knocks him out. If he does knock out Sean Strickland, that's going to make a serious statement. He says, as you thought he would. As you thought he would. What do you mean? What is that in reference to? Are you talking about Fluffy or Khamzat? Let me know, Victory. Victory says, I know Fluffy couldn't keep Sean down. I think Khamzat can, though. Khamzat getting tired was Sean's only chance. Right, and now he's training with, you know, that Sam Kavia guy. So, you know, good luck. The guy who George Bush cited as the best mathematician in the history of American intelligence, okay? The best mathematician in the history of America is training with Khamzat. All right, they are going to break down Sean methodically, but here's the thing, man. Sean, he's a tough guy. He's a high-level fighter, right? A high-level fighter is a high-level fighter no matter how you cut it and no matter if you're training with Sam Kavia or anybody, right? But by the end of the day, skills pays the bills, and Khamzat is going to play it safe because he knows how dangerous Sean is, right? He knows how dangerous Sean is. He may think that Sean is easy because of whatever, you know, whatever situation they sort of felt at each other during the training sessions, right? He may have felt like, you know what, this guy is a lot easier than I thought, but you know what Allen Iverson said back in the day? Dog, we talking about practice. We talking about practice, dog. So I think the practice right here will mean absolutely nothing because by the end of the day, these are two high-level fighters. High-level fighters at their best. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev. 5-round decision, and the aftermath of that, I think, is what is going to upset many people. A lot of people are going to be pissed with the aftermath. I guarantee you, people are going to be pissed. They're going to be like, what is going on here, man? You know, I thought Khamzat was supposed to be this world beater. Well, he is. But when you fight at the championship levels, it becomes a little bit different. George St. Pierre will tell you how different it is. Anderson Silva will tell you how it is. He's been criticized before having boring fights, right? The Travis Lutter fight, the Patrick Cote fight, the Damian Maia fight. By the way, the same division that Khamzat Chimaev is defending, this same title, the title of Anderson Silva. The title that Anderson Silva made famous, right? So that is what he is going to face in this fight. It's going to be a lot of difficulties, and, you know, as a result of those difficulties, it's going to be a 5-round decision, and people are going to call him a boring fighter. And it won't be indicative of his next fight, because Khamzat Chimaev could easily finish off his next opponent, just not Sean Strickland. Maybe Imavov, he would have finished him off, For sure, I'm confident Chimaev would have finished off Fluffy Hernandez. But Sean Strickland, we got to give Sean Strickland some credit, regardless of what you feel about him, regardless of his political stance, regardless of how cringy he can be. None of that matters. The reality is that Sean Strickland can win this fight. And I am confident that he won't win this fight, but he's tough enough to last 5 rounds. So I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev. Split decision. Ooh, that right there is a shocker. I said Khamzat Chimaev split decision. I didn't say, 50, 45 across the board, by the way, right? I didn't say that. I said split decision, meaning that there's going to be some judges that are going to give it to Sean Strickland. Now, why am I saying that? All right, well, let's get through the fight, right? I know that it was Ramadan when Khamzat Chimaev fought Gilbert Burns. I get that. At the same time, though, Khamzat Chimaev is fighting at a non-Ramadan date, obviously, because he would have been fighting right now, but that's not the case. He's going to be fully hydrated, but remember, Sean, by the end of the day, is still a very tough adversary to deal with. Very tough adversary. Okay? It's going to be very difficult for him to take Sean down. He's going to have difficulties. Sean is going to hit him with some shots. Now, we've seen the chin of Khamzat Chimaev, right? It's going to be hard to knock him down, knock him out, but he's not untouchable, and Sean Strickland is going to prove that. Sean Strickland is going to prove that he is not untouchable, and as a result of that, he could absolutely put it on Khamzat Chimaev, enough to convince some judges, not all, some. But that is why I'm going with split decision by Khamzat Chimaev. He's going to win just close to the T, okay? Now, moving on. We got Waldo Costa, okay, taking on Alexander Volkov. I'm going to have to go with Alexander Volkov on this one. I think the size will play a factor. I think that Waldo will put up a good fight. Maybe even take down Volkov a couple of times. Volkov will get back up, but he's going to hit Waldo with some strikes. This one is also going to end in a 3-round decision, split decision. This is also a split decision on this one. I'm going with Waldo Costa. Sean Brady taking on Joaquin Buckley. This is also going to be a decision, but I'm going to go with Sean Brady. Grapplers win fights. I know Joaquin, he beat Colby Covington. I know that Usman had a pretty tough fight with Buckley. But by the end of the day, grappling wins fights. And I think it's going to be a rinse and repeat for Sean Brady. And you know what? Forget a decision. I think he's going to finish Joaquin Buckley. I believe that Joaquin Buckley is going to get finished by rear naked choke. So I'm going with Sean Brady. King Green versus Jeremy Stevens. Look, King Green was looking really good in his last fight. I think he's going to look even better in this one. Jeremy Stevens is coming off of BKFC, and this is going to be a striking affair. But also, keep in mind, it does not mean that Bobby Green is not willing to strike with you. He will absolutely strike with you. Bobby Green will absolutely strike with you, but then he will also take you down if it doesn't go his way. He says, I think Buckley learned a lot from the Usman fight and he'll beat Brady. I disagree. I think that Brady is going to out-grapple him. And yeah, he says, I'm glad Jeremy Stevens got another fight. For real. For real. I'm kind of glad that BKFC and the UFC are having this collaboration of some sort. I don't know what's going on with his contract that's allowing him to take this fight, but he's here nonetheless, and that's great. That's great, right? You know, who doesn't enjoy a Jeremy Stevens fight? You know, hey, I knock people out stiff. This guy TKOs them. Who the fuck is that guy? Oh, man. Jeremy Stevens, yeah, he is that guy. He is that guy, but so is Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green is going to outpoint him in this fight. Two guys that are very difficult to knock out. I mean, Bobby Green has been laid out before, but, you know, This one's going to be a little bit harder. Victory says, I think he's only been signing one-offs. Ah, okay, one-fight contracts. That makes sense. You know, Jeremy Stevens, man, he's beloved in New Jersey. Obviously, being a BKFC guy, there's a lot of people in New Jersey. I know a lot of my homies in New Jersey, they love some BKFC. So, you know, maybe that is the indication of why he will be in this card, right? Because of that, you know, BKFC following he has going on. But yeah, I'm going with, you know, my man Bobby Green on this one. Jan Blachowicz taking on Bogdan Guskov. Look, I'm going to have to go with Jan Blachowicz on this one. Don't let the record fool you. I know that it looks like a veteran taking on up-and-coming prospect, and that's kind of what it is, but Jan Blachowicz at number 10, Bogdan at number 9. Very interesting matchup, to say the least. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz decision. He says BKFC did the king of Jersey dirty, Frankie Edgar. I know. They absolutely did him dirty, man. You know, but that's the fight game for you, bro. That is the fight game for you. So I'm going with Jan Blachowicz decision. Ati Gutierrez taking on Ozzy Diaz. Yeah, I'm going with Gutierrez. They brought this Ozzy Diaz guy to get knocked out, to be slaughtered. This right here is the next Francis Ngannou, and by the way, comes from Cameroon as well, right? 6'4" at middleweight. He's going to be a problem. I could see Gutierrez fighting Khamzat Chimaev sometime down the future. Yeah, Gutierrez. This guy is the next Francis Ngannou at middleweight. Don't be surprised if he ends up fighting Khamzat, by the way, right? There's a good chance he'll end up fighting Khamzat. Roman Kopylov taking on Mark Trujillo. A little bit of a 50-50 fight. I might go with Roman Kopylov on this one. Clayton Carpenter taking on Jose Ochoa. Never heard of him as well. All right, let's take a look at who Clayton Carpenter is, what he's got going on here. All right, so 8-2 from the MMA lab. Okay, so that means he trains with Ben Smooth Henderson. Just got submitted, lost to Tagir. How many UFC fights does this guy have? So he's 2-2 in the UFC right now. His opponent, Jose Ochoa. Eight and 2, 1-2 in the UFC. So, all right, this is a bit of an even matchup between them, right? Both coming off of losses. Yeah, I'll probably go with Clayton on this one. I think Clayton will win by decision, right down, you know, maybe a split decision, perhaps. So last matchup that they announced for this one. This guy right here trains with Khamzat, by the way. All right. By Sangur Suskarov, 11-0. So, yeah, this is the next Khamzat right here. Yeah, he's going to knock this dude out in the first round. Santos. Or maybe submit him. Let's see if he's prone to submission. So, all right, no, okay, just mostly decision losses he's had here. Yeah, he's going to get finished. I think this guy gets submitted, rear naked choke first round. So that is it, boys. That is the entire fight card so far. 9 bouts for UFC 328 New Jersey, right? Headlined by Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. So like I said, right, this is going to be the battle of civilizations. You know, fake Christian versus real Muslim. I mean, let's be honest, you know, Sean Strickland is not a Christian to any degree, but he's going to play off that whole religious thing. Oh, well, I'm Christian. Right? You know, but you're not. You know, you're, you know, a trailer trash dude who just spews political views and you don't really understand or know what you're talking about. But I think even though he is right about some of the things that he says about Khamzat, by the end of the day, when it comes to fighting, it is the winner who writes history and it is the winner who is correct by the end of the day, right? So even though you could say, yeah, he hangs out with dictators, he, you know, fraternizes with them, you could say this and that. The reality is Khamzat Chimaev is going to win this fight, and there's nothing that he can do about it. There's nothing that he can say about it. But if he does beat Khamzat Chimaev, oh goodness gracious, the world and the internet will explode. Okay, at any minute that Khamzat Chimaev loses, the internet will explode because people are just waiting for him to downfall, and that's just the fight game in a nutshell. They build you up like this. They build you up like this only to knock you back down. And who knows that better than anyone? Ronda Rousey. Just imagine 11 years ago when she knocked out Holly Holmes. By the way, how about this, right? Holly Holmes and Ronda are now in the same organization. Holly does fight in boxing for MVP, but MVP is now in MMA, and Ronda Rousey is going to be a headline opener for MVP MMA. Victory says, very slim chance, though. I think Khamzat is going to dominate for a while. I agree. And with that in mind, guys, that is all that I have for this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Oh, and what I wanted to say about Ronda, yeah, imagine, right? The loss that vehemently affected her whole mental health. 11 years later, she comes back and avenges it. Only in MMA, you get a beautiful story like that. And with that in mind, that is all that I have. Shout out to everybody around the world and to all the haters out there. You can go to hell. You know what I mean? And I mean that. Ronda is awful and so unlikable. Right. Just like some people that we've had in our chats. Ooh. See ya. Inshallah. See you in the next episode.